Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream, pre-stream. Congratulations for being here live, folks. We're really making it happen. I'll start off by giving a big congratulations to camelknees over on Twitch for first comment of the day. Congratulations, camelknees. Well, we're starting off the week strong, folks. We've got a good show for you today, but as usual, remember to follow us on multiple platforms, because you never know when we'll disappear from one of them, and then you'll just kind of drift off into the Canary Cry List universe. But you can follow us at youtube.com/canarycryradio, twitch.tv/canarycryradio, also DLive and Facebook and Periscope, all those places. And more than anything, remember to subscribe to the podcast version, the RSS feed on Apple Podcasts or wherever you want, folks. Okay, as usual, stay hydrated, and let's get going.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is February 22nd, 2021. This is episode 303, and today I am Blasphemy. And you know me, I am not that I am, but I am your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And we're here.
Booyah.
Yep. Booyah.
We're here, starting the week off again. Interesting numbers today. You know, the date 2/22/2021 and 303 on the episode. So lots of recurring numbers going on here.
Yeah, it's a big numerical pattern day.
Oh no!
Even on the show, there's lots of there's a couple 33s, there's 777s, there's 666s.
Wow.
I wonder what it means. What does it all mean?
Calculators, folks. So what do you think? Anything exciting happened this weekend for you?
Not really. Just more time with the fam, which is good. A lot of spitting up right now.
Always good.
From the little one.
The baby.
A little bit of attitude from the 3-year-old. She's developing her sass.
Okay,
always rough. You don't want to be too heavy-handed, but at the same time, you need to lay down the law, so.
Sure.
Parenting.
Don't I know it, man. This Monty 3 is about a year old now. Just getting feisty.
Yeah. I don't know.
He does a lot of tackling. He's rough with his brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough too, I guess.
Okay, well, it sounds like we should just get into the show. What do you think?
Yeah, just a reminder for everybody.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
And
that's right.
This is the last week for your opportunity to win a silver coin.
My opportunity? Oh no! That means everybody else is on their last week for their chance to be the beneficiary of 1 ounce, a 1 ounce silver coin. Very nice. So generously provided. Oh gosh, I didn't take my alpha brain today, Gonz. I might get a little
good.
Might forget a lot of words.
We'll get raw Basil.
So generously provided by producer Aaron Moffat. Check her out on YouTube. And if you need a reminder, here's what you do. If you want to win an ounce of silver. Just go onto your social media, whatever social media you choose, make a post about Canary Cry News Talk, say something nice, use the hashtag Canary Cry News Talk, and drop a link to an episode there, and that'll get you, every time you do that, you get an entry into the Canary Cry Silver Giveaway for this month. Oh no, it's happening.
Yep, raw basil.
I know. Oh gosh. So there you go. Go do it now. You're running out of time. There you go. I did it.
Good. Yep. We try to do it on every episode we post now. We use the hashtag Canary Cry News Talk on the social medias.
There's still something about hashtags that feels very 2008.
Yeah, I know, but
I can't believe they stuck around.
It's how people find things. It's how programming has crept into, common world.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Do you remember where, this is at the height of popularity for hashtags, and people didn't quite understand that it was specifically for categorization and search capabilities.
Right.
And, it's during the hashtag blessed era. Mm-hmm. Where you would just use hashtags in whatever sentence you were writing, like, just had hashtag breakfast, had some hashtag cereal, and it was an excruciating time for the Gen Zers out there. You guys would have been like 5 years old, and so you were spared the blasphemy of the hashtag usage. Yeah, all right, we're going off the rails.
Once they learned programming, it all made sense. The future generations. Okay, we got a Flippy update here.
Let's do it.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, if you don't know, now you know. Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a proxy conversation to discuss how robots and AI are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. This one won't come as a surprise. In fact, it's very similar to some other Flippies we've talked about, but it's good to stay updated. This is coming from InceptiveMind.com. And the headline is Flying Autonomous Robot Can Spock. Oh, no.
Maybe you do need your alpha brain. Maybe the basil everybody knows is hopped up on some brain pills. Yeah.
We got to figure out. I got to call it something else. I don't want to give Alpha Brain any free advertisements, but
brain juice,
mushroom coffee. Dang, that's another thing. Anyways, flying autonomous robot can spot and pick ripe fruit. There is a global shortage of seasonal fruit pickers. Gons, out of all the global shortages that we're having to deal with,
it's truly a new world order.
Is the global shortage of seasonal fruit pickers, as if they were a commodity. Maybe they are, I'm glad we've got fruit pickers. Moving on. As a result of the enforced COVID-19 travel restrictions, as it is getting harder to find fruit pickers to harvest the world's orchards, some farmers are turning to AI drones to pick their crops. Now, an Israeli company, Tevel Aerobotics Technologies, has developed a flying autonomous drone that utilizes artificial intelligence to identify and pick the ripest fruit. It combines artificial intelligence with computer vision, advanced robotics, aeronautical engineering, state-of-the-art flight control, and data fusion and perception. The FAR robot can work 24 hours a day and picks only ripe fruit. It uses AI perception algorithms to locate the trees and vision algorithms to detect the fruit among the foliage and classify its size and ripeness. After choosing the right fruit, the robot then works out the best way to approach the fruit and remains stable as its picking arm grasps the fruit. Several FAR robots can harvest the orchard without getting in each other's way thanks to a single autonomous digital brain, a hive mind. in a ground-based unit. Tevil's fruit-picking robot delivers the highest performance at the lowest cost, along with high levels of flexibility that enable the harvest of multiple fruit types, including apples, pears, and avocados. Like including, should we name more fruits? Do you get the point? They also work on thinning and pruning functions. So pretty impressive little drone bot here. Of course, we've talked about fruit picking robots in all sorts of different capacities, but this was really the pinnacle of fruit picking technology, because we've seen ground-based robots with arms or without arms, whether it's artificially intelligent or not, so many variables, but we've finally done it. We've solved the riddle of a flying, autonomous robot arm, fruit-picking robot. And, going back to the discussion that we've had with similar fruit-picking robots, part of the Flippy update is to help the kids figure out their career path. You don't want to get invested in a career path that will just be scooped up by a robot in no time, and which would make, maybe a college degree a little bit less useful than it already is, if that's even possible. But when you look at the political ramifications, of course, you've got, the liberal idea to open up borders and here in the U.S., make it easier for immigrants to come from the South and pick the fruit, which is already, we've heard so many quotes so many times, just the racism that comes from the left on, if you don't let immigrants into the country, who's going to scrub your toilets? Okay, AOC. Who was that? That was AOC, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
It was one of them.
The liberal, leftist, Democrat, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they're trying to be all woke, but at the same time, they're like the most insulting people.
I know.
So anyways, here you go, kids. If you were planning on becoming a fruit picker, don't even think about it. This robot's pre-taken your job.
Yeah, I mean, the footage here is pretty impressive. They are wired, so they can't fly off or something and smack people around. But
which is probably for the best in a lot of ways.
Definitely for the best. But it's impressive. It flies up, it checks to see if it's ripe based on the color, and then it'll reach out and grab it and throw it into a little bucket there.
Yeah, the speed and the control of this one is what makes it much more impressive than previous apple picking robots.
I'm just wondering what the error rate is. How often does it accidentally pick a not a not ripe fruit,
unripe, too ripe,
or something, or too ripe, or drops it in the wrong thing, or I don't know. But it's pretty impressive. I don't know.
Well, I love this new I don't know what milieu of the farmers of the future. They're all carrying iPads.
Yeah, they walk around.
Where before, if you wanted to do, create, draw, or I don't know, represent a classic farmer, it's always got a pitchfork or something, maybe some overalls on a tractor.
Right.
Now, in the future, our kids will only know farmers by the way they hold their iPad.
The silhouette logo of a farmer is now just a guy holding an iPad.
A guy holding an iPad.
Why don't they just get a like a stick with a little hand on it, like you can buy at the local, dollar store or something, the little clampers, and just do that. Why you got to spend like hundreds of thousands, billions of dollars for something that you can do with like a stick? Anyway.
Wow, Gons, I think you cracked this wide open.
Israeli company too. We'll see Israeli stuff coming up again later in this episode. But there you go. You got anything else?
No, that's it. That's Flippy update.
I have a video here. This is more for the visual than it is for the audio listeners out there. But it's footage from a factory that wraps boxes. Those plastic things that come down and wrap. I don't know.
Like boxes. Bundler.
It's like a bundler thing.
Box bundler. Yeah.
So I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a frame that drops them onto the boxes, and there's like a guy working on it. And if you watch it, it comes. That's the sound of it coming down onto the box. he sticks his arm through, and it clamps his arm down, and then he puts his head through it, and it clamps his head down.
Yeah.
And then this other guy comes in and try to help, and then he gets clamped down, and it looks like just this big chaotic thing, and they rip themselves off as they as they fall to the ground.
Yeah, this is hilarious. It's footage of a bundling machine,
Like a factory,
rebelling against its human captors, and it's
this
pretty
is
funny.
This is an unintelligent machine. Imagine when they get intelligent and they do it. I'm just saying.
Who knows,
this is
guys? Don't judge a bot by its iPad. This might be the smartest of all the robots.
I'm just glad that people were able to get out. But what are
Part
you
of
doing?
me, if I have to be completely honest, I think maybe this would have been staged. I mean, it's just crazy how the second guy sees the first guy get bundled up twice, and then the second guy puts his whole head into the machine.
It's true.
Like, either he's really dumb or they're really good at making a video go viral.
Hey, it is what it is.
It is that it is.
It is.
Okay.
It is. It is M. It's M.
Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing some other people who are on my team.
Yeah.
about it being
The
staged.
problem with the staged thing is that everything is staged now. So it's like let me just enjoy the delusion of this machine taking out this guy's head.
That's true. I mean, reality is so crafted for us already. We might just make the choice to think that this robot actually took over this factory. And some say this robot is still in charge today.
Oh,
Just
that's very
bundling
scary.
up human after human, sending it off to the human factory.
Yeah, the mythology that gets built around something like this is what controls the people, not the footage itself.
Yeah.
Okay, something good real quick here. Tell me something good. And it's not necessarily a good thing, although I am calling it a good story just because nobody got hurt. So this is DenverPost.com. I'm sure everybody saw the footage. United Airlines grounds Boeing 777s after engine failure dropped debris on Broomfield. And there was a bunch of footage from people on the ground, just debris falling on people's cars and a giant ring from the engine in someone's yard. And it's pretty wild.
Yeah. I actually know somebody who lived around there. They sent me some pictures of debris in their neighborhood.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Did you see the footage of the actual engine from the guy on the flight?
Yeah, it's wild.
It's crazy. I mean, this is first off, if you're in that situation, filming the engine, I would do that. I would do that to distract myself from what was going on.
Just to film it.
Just to film it, and so people know, when they do, if it goes down and they do like a data thing on my phone, they'll find the footage, and they'll know what our last visions of what last moments look like. But
what it reminds me of? The jet engine that is in this video, it's kind of like the entire casing has fallen off or something.
Yeah.
You can see the innards and the fire and it reminded me a lot of the pod racers from Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say,
or 2 or whatever.
It kind of looks like the just the thing that allegedly landed on the moon, that like thing that was all thin with
the lunar lander.
The lunar lander,
made of tin foil and PVC pipe.
Right. That's it's kind of what it looks like. I'm impressed that it kind of stayed together. But it's a good thing they were still over land and they can actually land, right? And
I suppose.
I heard that a bunch of people, because I guess it was on a flight to Hawaii, that a bunch of people hopped on another plane to get to Hawaii. Like the majority of the people. I don't know. Would you hop on another plane to get to your destination if this happened, or would you be like, I'm good with my luck with airplanes for today?
Oh, I'd keep going. I need a vacation from my near-death experience.
So you figured, it can't happen again.
Yeah. What are the odds?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that's something good. Again, not good in a sense, but good because nobody got hurt. So.
Yeah. It's just a fun story now.
Yeah. We got a couple 33 updates. Got a whole bunch of them sent to us. So Here it is.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
And 33 is the Illuminati dog whistle. This is Popular Mechanics. This ferret died 33 years ago. Scientists just brought her back to life.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing creepy about this at all. Let me go through this here. For the first time, scientists have cloned an endangered U.S. species, a black-footed ferret named Elizabeth Ann, whose donor has been dead for more than 30 years. After the original ferret, Willa, died in 1988, scientists froze her body to preserve her genetic material, hoping to someday perform an experiment like this. While a domesticated ferret carried the cloned embryo, the new ferret, who is being raised at a Fish and Wildlife Service Blackfoot ferret breeding facility in Fort Collins, Colorado, is still very wild, with all the instincts and aggression that suggests. For some reason, the first time I read this, I thought that it said the ferret, what's the word here, was being raised by a fish. And I was like, what is this madness? But yeah,
it's an abomination.
Beyond abomination. This is a fresh success story for the black-footed ferret, which has become emblematic of how well conservation and repopulation efforts can work. First, scientists thought the ferret was extinct after frustrated ranchers poisoned almost all of the animals in the wild. Then the population grew from a group of just a few, so there are about 1,000 wild black ferrets today, plus populations in wildlife preserves, zoos, and other supervised programs. Willa was a special animal, even if she died, because of the way black-footed ferrets... Before she died. Because of the way black-footed ferrets came back from believed extinction, each animal was precious to the genetic diversity, and with it, the robustness and trait vigor of the entire new population. So freezing Willa was a way to preserve an important genetic specimen in order for future scientists to find a way to bring those genes back to the group. Quote, when Willa died...
very important.
This is super
ferret,
important.
Folks.
This is like the ferret Jesus, Antichrist Jesus, depending on your view. Quote, when Willa died, the Wyoming Game and Fish Department sent her tissues to a frozen zoo run by San Diego Zoo Global that maintains cells for more than 1,100 species and subspecies worldwide, the Associated Press told Meade Groover reports.
Mm-hmm.
For now, cloning Willa is a huge help, but that's not the end of the plans for frozen animals like her. Eventually, scientists may be able to modify those genes to help cloned animals survive, Groover writes. Willa's genes were fertilized into an embryo and then carried by a regular domestic ferret who gave birth to Elizabeth Ann. Fellow black-footed ferret didn't carry the embryo because of the regular risks associated with pregnancy. With the success of this procedure, animal conservators feel more confident about bringing back other specimens, including those that will require genetic patching or modification in order to even be successfully cloned.
Yeah, like velociraptors, Tyrannosaurus Rex. We've seen this before.
It was in a movie, I think. Very popular
What
movie.
is up with the world's obsession with ferrets right now?
I don't know. Yeah,
the minks, ferrets, badgers, ferret badgers. First, it was with the minks over there in Europe, and then there was this obsession with the Wuhan wet market. They're saying it was like a ferret badger or something, blaming coronavirus on the ferret badger, and now we're bringing a ferret back from the dead from 33 years ago. This is too many ferret-related stories.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't Planet of the Apes. That was just a misdirection. It was Planet of the Ferrets.
Wow. And again, Gons, I think you've nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, this, I think not just the ferret angle, but the whole idea of frozen specimen and bringing it back to life with cloning and genetic cloning and stuff. I mean, this, that this is all being done so that they can do it to humans. I mean, this is not like it's cool because we preserve life, which is the PR. But, deep within the laboratories, this is so humanity can do this exact thing, right?
Of course.
That's why we got people freezing their brains and stuff, right? Freezing their heads and preserving their body cryogenically and stuff. They're hoping for this type of technology to progress enough so that they can wake up in the year 3010 or whatever. So I don't know. It's a little bit creepy. And I don't know what happens to Ferret, Antichrist Ferret Jesus here.
I don't know. We've got to keep an eye on this and compare the life of this ferret to the prophecies foretold.
Yeah, where's the ferret eschatology?
Where are the two witness ferrets? Where's the
the
get
false
it.
ferret?
Yes.
The first ferret beast. Oh, maybe that's what the beast is.
Oh, it's an actual beast.
It's an actual beast, except lion, leopard, bear combination makes a ferret. I don't know. So there you go. That's one of our 33 updates. Certainly a convergence of various topics that we cover, wrapped nicely in the coincidental 33-year resurrection of this ferret here. The ferret that once was and is not and is again 33 years later.
This is why you listen to the show, folks. You're not going to hear this kind of analysis on this ferret anywhere else. This is
true.
a Canary Cry exclusive.
That is true. That's some horrible eisegesis on my part, but hey, what are you going to do?
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
Not to be outdone, news.trust.org. Planet Earth is its quietest in decades as lockdown reduces seismic noise.
What?
It's quiet now.
Why would that happen?
I don't know.
Are humans causing earthquakes with our big boy foot stomps?
I don't. Fee, fi, fo, thumb.
Yeah.
I have no clue. Maybe, yeah. Zurich. Earth had its quietest period in decades during 2020 as the COVID-19 pandemic significantly reduced human activity and its impact on the planet's crust, according to scientists working on a global study. An international group of seismologists from 33 countries measured a drop of up to 50% in so-called ambient noise generated by humans traveling and factories humming after lockdowns came into force around the world. The team, which included experts from Swiss Seismological Service at ETH Zurich, a university, measured lower noise levels at 185 of the 268 seismic stations analyzed around the world. So maybe they're just talking about human-created factory noise, but I don't know. I don't see how this is related.
I don't know much about seismology, but it sounds like apparently if you're listening to the seismograph, that there's just kind of a basic low-level hum of human activity.
Well, yeah, it says lower background noise during lockdowns also means small earthquakes that otherwise would not be observed have been detected in some places. Small tremors allows us to improve our understanding of the seismic hazards, said science. So basically, yeah, maybe it's not talking about the actual Earth and its crust activity, but more so the noise that apparently we make with all of our factories and cars and stuff. The background noise is lowered
when it comes to the vibrations it can send through the ground.
Everything is vibrations, Basil. Everything.
Whoa. I'm going to debunk you now.
Including, God spoke reality into existence. Mm-hmm. When he spoke, what do you think happened? Creation vibrated, bro. We're all vibrations.
Yeah, I've heard this one before.
Yeah, but the point being that the 33 countries, always 33 countries, you are not allowed, there's no 34th country allowed to do this kind of scientific work.
34th, yes. It has to be 33.
It's capped at 33.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, this one is kind of the reason why we titled the episode the way we did.
People don't even read their Bible, for heaven's sakes.
Have you heard of Stephen Furtick?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have a Facebook.
Are you Facebook friends with him?
No, but people are always sharing his videos and stuff.
Okay.
He's one of these millennial pastors who harness the power of social media to, well, depending on your view of this man, promote himself or promote Jesus. Who knows?
Or promote something else.
Okay.
When God said, I am to Moses, my name is I am. He was trying to get him to see you are. as I am.
Yeah. Yeah, this clip made a splash over the past few days. The one thing that bugs me a little bit about this clip is that it's just a 3-second clip.
Yeah, it's 14 seconds, so you don't get the full context.
Sure, yeah. So I don't know what the context was or what exactly he was trying to say. But, of course, people are just taking the clip on its face, meaning, that God was saying, I am, so you know that you are also God? Gods? What is he saying?
I don't know. I just think he just watched too much Age of Ultron.
I'm a child of Ultron.
You're not?
I'm not Ultron. I'm not Jarvis. I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vision is I am.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. If indeed, again, and I hesitate to, make too big of a deal out of such a small clip, but if indeed that's kind of what he was trying to say, that's a classic Gnostic related teaching, where through knowledge we too can become like God.
Yeah, and I know in the past I don't know much about Stephen Furtick other than similarly videos and clips that have been shared, but they do seem a little I don't know, even from just the clips, because even with this one he's trying to incite this point, right? That Moses was like I am, like God. We are all reflections. And it's just too close. It's too close to some things that have been shared in the past. This one called the I Am activity. Do you know about the I Am movement?
Wasn't that like it's just like a group, like a cult type thing, right?
Yeah, but the roots are pretty nefarious here. The I Am movement is the original Ascended Master Teachings religious movement founded in the 1930s by Guy Ballard and his wife, Edna Ann Wheeler Ballard in Chicago,
it's like
Illinois.
A Theosophy related thing?
Yep. It's an offshoot of Theosophy and a major precursor of several New Age religions, including the Church Universal and Triumphant. The movement had up to 1 million followers in 1938 and is still active today on a smaller scale. According to the official website of the parent organization, the Saint Germain Foundation, its worldwide headquarters is located in Schaumburg, Illinois. Saint Germain Foundation, interesting. If you were reading around all the prophecy stuff from last year, there was this idea that Saint Germain, there's like a Saint Germain fund with Nisera and Gesera, and there's like quadrillions of dollars being locked up to be released to the public, and that's part of the right-hand, left-hand beast system. Interesting thesis, although I don't think it's exactly accurate biblically, but there's something to be said about that, controlling both sides of the path.
Right.
And, of course, they had a 300-person local group worldwide under several variations of the names I Am Sanctuary, I Am Temple, and other similar titles. As of 2007, the organization states that its purpose is, quote, spiritual educational and practical, and that no admission fee is charged for their activities. The term I Am is a reference to the ancient Sanskrit mantra So Ham, meaning I am that I am. Interesting. Ham, Ham is the one that didn't do so well in the light of God after Noah and his 3 sons. Ham was not the good one. He's the one that busted out Nimrod. And then, of course, the movement believes in the existence of a group called the Ascended Masters, a hierarchy of supernatural beings that includes the original Theosophical Masters, such as Jesus Christ, El Moria Khan, Maitreya, and in addition, several dozen more beyond the original 20 Masters of Ancient Wisdom of the original Theosophists, as described by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. So my concern here with Furtick is not so much, I get it, it's an ISO clip, and I'm not going to question the man's faith per se. Maybe he's just, I don't know, he's trying to be, do cool speak, but he is still, walking on dangerous lines here, because somebody that knows more about the New Age movement can come in and be like, hey, you know about the I Am movement? They're all about Jesus, this theosophical master, Jesus Christ, and somebody who's not as informed about that stuff will be like, oh, well, what did they say about, the Jesus teachings? Oh, well, he taught that, I am, we are all I am. And that can creep into your teaching there. So that's just my concern, and just a warning out there. I know you're cautious about this stuff, Basil, but I don't know. We can disagree on that, but that's kind of my take on it.
Wait, what?
Well, you were. I wouldn't say you were defending him, but you were defending the idea that maybe the clip is taken out of context. Maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I just say I don't know. I don't know what he was talking about. It's Hey, look, I agree with everything he said. I'm just saying that's just kind of how the internet works. A 10-second clip goes viral. Could be out of context, could be in. I mean, from what I've seen from the guy, he's not necessarily the most orthodox preacher.
Well, he's certainly not orthodox. That's for sure.
So, I don't know. Yeah, but I think you're right. I have no reason to believe that that's not what he was saying. That those types of ideas have crept their way into larger Christian circles for, decades now. Yeah. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear, what he said before and after.
Sure. Yeah.
Just as a practice in critical thinking, it would be nice to know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with that though is if you do that, and maybe somebody has, it could be like, oh, okay, he meant it this way. Or it could be like, ooh, this is really bad, so we'll see. Maybe if somebody has the full clip or full sermon from this, where this was clipped out, let us know, send it to us. We'll check it out and we'll report back to it. But I hope somebody, lets them know that if you're pushing the whole I am thing, be careful, because you're pushing some theosophical ideas there.
I'm sure he's got plenty of people online.
Yeah, but I'm talking about somebody that can actually talk to him. Is he just surrounded by yes men and yes women? I don't know. Some pastors are.
He's the young charismatic leader of a giant megachurch. I'm sure he's got people who just feel so free to give him helpful criticism.
Ooh. Have you experienced some totalitarian pastors or something there, Basil?
No, not personally. I've read about them, though.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen some borderline stuff there. But, there you go. Just thought I'd bring that to people's attention. It's a pretty big church. These guys are, he's huge, right? He's very popular.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. He's
just from his Facebook views. That's all I'm going off of here.
I don't know when this was, though. Was this recent? Because everyone's inside this theater thing.
I don't know. It just started coming out. But I don't even know where he is. Maybe he's in a state that allows big church services.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
Okay. Let's move on. We got a whole bunch of stuff about the pandemic special.
WACCINE.
A pandemic special.
And this first one, real quick, Basil, and I'll let you run with something here.
666.
Montreal.ctvnews.ca. Quebec reports lowest increase of COVID-19 cases in months, with 666 new infections as hospitalizations drop.
Woo!
So in this case, the man of sin, the beast, is lowering numbers.
Wow.
Isn't it interesting how a lot of times it's 666 more cases, but in this case it's like, down to 666 new infections.
666 cases. Isn't this great? Don't we all love this?
It's interesting.
You said this was in Quebec?
Quebec, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So on Saturday, I tuned in to the Canary Crime meetup that happened.
How did that go?
On the Zoom meeting. It was great. I got there a little bit late, but it was very fun. Popped in. It was as we reported on the last episode. It was Basel themed. So I logged on to a bunch of little squares of people who got very creative with googly eyes.
Do we have a screenshot or something from that? Because that would be awesome.
Producer Ciara took a screenshot, and I think
nice.
It's either posted or will be posted in canarycry.community, which is our off Facebook social media site. If anybody wants to join up with other Canarians on an algorithmic-less social media basis. So yes, the screenshot does exist, but we got a lot of Canadian listeners. And got to hang out with some of our Canadian producers on this Zoom meetup, and they were giving me reports. Apparently, in at least the places that they are, cases and infections and hospitalizations are they're in the green zone, they say, which is pretty much it's gone, and they have very little restrictions in some of those places up there in Canada. So it's interesting because, of course, from a lot of the reports we hear, you got Trudeau putting people in Chinese-owned quarantine camps, and they're getting really hardcore and kind of spooky up there. But it sounds like in certain places in Canada, your life, if not back to normal, at least not so draconian. And also we had to compare and contrast that, we also had a producer on that call who is currently in India. And very hardcore lockdowns. I mean, he was saying he literally did not leave his apartment for 9 months. Wow. Wasn't even allowed to step out the door and had to get everything delivered. Luckily, he could work from home. But yeah, so things are pretty intense, man. Why am I bringing this up? Oh, because you talked about Canada. Yeah, so that does not surprise me. At least the marketing of the pandemic up in Canada is that things seem to be getting better.
Yay.
So
exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this next story, there's not much else to say other than the 666 number there.
Yeah. So this next one, this is actually a clip.
Yes. Got a few
RT.
seconds. I'll play the first, not even a minute or so to get an idea of what's going on here.
Israelis refusing to get a coronavirus jab may soon find their names being given to the authorities. At least that's what the Israeli Prime Minister has suggested, raising concerns over possible privacy violations and discrimination. Now, Israel has a world-leading vaccination program, but its recent loss of momentum has worried Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The government is now considering taking a series of measures to boost uptake among the population. They include launching a campaign against disinformation, introducing new legislation, and giving immunity passports to those inoculated.
All right, so do we want to hear Bibi speak on this, or?
Yeah, let's see what he says. Let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth here.
Okay, so the idea is that so far, if you don't take the vaccine, your name will be given to the government. Is that what they're saying?
The authorities.
The authorities.
The reason to go and get vaccinated is that we are now launching the Green Passport Plan. Whoever has been vaccinated will be able to go and enjoy the theatre, the cinema, sports events, flights abroad, restaurants and more.
Which, by the way,
called it.
From like an entire community of people saying that this was going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and early on too. I mean, we were talking about this back in March of 2020, where at the time this was just a crazy conspiracy theory. And here we are once again. So yeah, to really lay it on, I mean, of course, we've heard a lot about the possibility of passports, health passports. We've discussed the different corporations, the private-public partnerships going on to try to make this work. But the thing about Israel is they're a small enough country with enough resources at their disposal that they are actually able to pull something like this off easier than it would be for, say, the U.S. to do. I have heard there's still a lot of pushback from the Israeli people, but they're not joking around, man. They're taking it very seriously.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the story here, the backlash, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep going here. Let's see what they say. People protesting in the streets.
Well, as you can see, the new measures sparked protests outside the Prime Minister's residence in Jerusalem with...
By the way, before we go on, I love these giant coronavirus balls that they have rolling around.
Yes, yeah, they're like 10 feet in diameter, blow up coronaviruses. They're rolling around.
It's great.
His residence in Jerusalem, with hundreds demanding Netanyahu's resignation, accusing him of mishandling the pandemic and of corruption. Now, the proposal to share the names of unvaccinated people with authorities has raised concerns, understandably over privacy violations and possible discrimination. It's been met with a mixed reaction among Israelis.
The government should convince the people, but not enforce them to do that.
This matter, you have to be very vigilant for the privacy of the citizens, but over public health, all measures should be taken.
Of course, you can't force someone to be vaccinated, but you can forbid him to enter into closed places, closed areas where he can infect other people.
That logic right there. Okay. If a lot of people are this is the same argument that goes back to the regular vaccines, but if you're vaccinated, why do you care that if you're next to someone that could be infected?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. It's the circular logic of vaccines, and especially when it comes to this particular COVID vaccine, where all the science shows that even if you're vaccinated, you can still have the virus in you and you can still spread it to other people. So having the vaccine does not stop you from spreading the virus, which destroys 50% of the argument for it. And then at the same time, if you are vaccinated and you're not gonna be too affected by it, why would you care if somebody is potentially going to spread it to you? It's just the logic.
It's okay to do it to protect the safety and health of all the people around. It's violating one right to protect all the others people.
While Israeli authorities are using a carrot as well as a stick to encourage people to get vaccinated.
And they show a guy getting a jab, nose completely over the mask. This mask is useless on this man. The only thing it is doing is making him breathe less air.
Well, Gons, the mask is not just useless on this man. To be fair, it's just as effective as usual.
Yeah, the virtue signaling. But anyway, so that's the story in a nutshell. Yeah, I do have an article from NBCnews.com that we don't have to get into. I think we covered the story sufficiently there, but
you talking about this Business Insider?
No, this is NBC.
Oh, separate the Israeli green pass.
Yeah.
We've covered the health passport thing for about a year now, and it's just interesting in the context of the rest of the things that we explore in the show. You know that the technology coming out of Israel is always at the top of the heap. But when I say technology, it's not just computers and et cetera, et cetera. It's also the political technology to be able to, inspire obedience. But, there's some pretty harsh. That's a pretty serious demonstration out in front of Netanyahu's house. Not just like, hey, no, we don't like the green pass. It's no, resign, get out of here, you crazy lunatic.
Yeah. Although that has been going on for a while, so half the country is. I mean, here's the thing. There's some people over here in America that are highly critical of the Zionist regime of Israel, and they get called anti-Semites. But then you go look at Israel, and there's a whole bunch of people that are like, we don't like our Zionist government. Please get him out of here.
Yeah. I mean, that's very common for American Jews as well.
Yeah. So, just a side point there. But yeah, you mentioned the population of Israel, and it's about 9 million, the population of Israel. Just for context's sake, California is about 40 million population.
Oh, yeah. No, it's less than the metropolitan area of Los Angeles, which has 10 million.
Right. So that's why, it seems like a little bit of a lab experiment or, kind of a test to see, because Israel is unique, much like LA, very small area, but dense population and highly advanced technologically and
strong economy,
quote unquote, politically. Yeah. Strong economy, that kind of stuff. So yeah, just keep an eye out for our Israeli friends over there. I don't know. Just, it's tough. What do you do? Do you have non-green pass? Or do you get fake green passes?
Well, discrimination, they actually said the D word in there. Discrimination is a big part of it, in this social justice era where you can't discriminate for this or that, but there are still certain things you can discriminate for, such as political affiliation. It's totally legal which is crazy because, I mean, it's just the bedrock of craziness to have it be legal to discriminate for political reasons. But now it's this sort of health discrimination that is coming up the pipeline. Well, and luckily, there's enough. Well, and to compare it to something, California law makes it illegal. It took away the illegality to purposefully have intercourse with someone knowing that you have AIDS.
Right.
So
right.
If you have AIDS, it's totally legal for you to have
relations.
What is the word? I'm like trying to whatever. You know what I mean? Have adult time with somebody without telling them that you have AIDS.
Yeah, you can't get in trouble for that.
So as far as health discrimination goes, California, the bastion of social justice, will allow that, but potentially will allow discrimination if you haven't had a vaccine because you might be willingly spreading COVID to people. It's just totally backwards world.
It's so strange how not strange. It's obvious, but I think to the common person, it must be strange to think that the health thing, the discrimination that is caused by this really is the fertile grounds for a neo-eugenics style. Hey, I have superior genetics, so I can do this and that. Hey, you don't have genetics that comply with the state, and so you stay over there. That kind of thinking is breeding with this type of health discrimination.
Yeah. Well, interesting you put it in the context of genetics because specifically it's an mRNA vaccine, which affects your genetics.
Right.
And so, whether somebody has or has not gotten the vaccine is literally discriminating based on genetics, which, again,
that's what I'm saying. It's
so
the beginnings.
Bizarre and backwards that this is even a possibility.
It's Gattaca. It's like this is like the prequel to Gattaca, the movie, the 1997 sci-fi thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch Gattaca? Have you seen it?
Oh, many moons ago.
Ethan Hawke, Jude Law.
Oh my gosh.
He's in there. Okay, but yes, got to keep an eye out for our Israeli friends there, and I guess I side with the protesters on this one. I'll push a giant rolling rubber vaccine, not a vaccine, virus to make my point.
There you go. Put them on a list, government.
I wonder who makes that. Who's the guy that was like, I'm going to make these giant 10-foot balls of virus to roll around for
inflatable coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, it doesn't look cheap. I'll tell you.
No,
that
it doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to this next story. Speaking of masks, guns.
If you're working alone, wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about. Science is truth.
That's right. MSN.com mirrored from Business Insider here. Fauci says it's possible that Americans will still need to wear masks in 2022. So the timeline keeps getting put out here. Dr. Anthony Fauci, President Biden's chief medical advisor for COVID-19, said Americans may still need to wear masks in 2022, even as he suggested that the U.S. could reach some sort of normality by the fall. Fauci told CNN's Dana Bash on State of the Union that while he can't predict when Americans could go back to pre-pandemic behaviors, he thinks, quote, we're going to have a significant degree of normality beyond the terrible burden that all of us have been through over the last year. Asked by Bash whether or not Americans would still need to wear masks a year from now, Fauci said it was possible, depending on the levels of coronavirus around the country. Which really doesn't mean anything.
No.
For him saying it's possible is basically a non-answer. Quote, if you see the levels coming down very low, I want it to keep going down to a baseline, and that's how low there is virtually that's so low there is virtually no threat, Fauci said. It'll never be zero, but a minimal threat. Fauci added that Americans wouldn't necessarily need to wear masks at the point when most people in the country are vaccinated. Quote, if you combine getting most of the people in the country vaccinated with getting the level of the virus in the community very, very low, then I believe you're going to be able to say, you know, for the most part, we don't necessarily have to wear masks, he said. It's just the most feeble attempt at making a statement. You know, for the most part, we don't necessarily have to wear masks, he said. So far, more than 43.6 million Americans have received their first dose of the vaccine. That's a high number.
It is. Was that
what is that? That's like
over 1/10 of the country.
Sixth. Yeah, it's like a
1/8,
1/6, I believe.
330 million, right?
Yeah, something like that. So four, that'd be six. Yeah, a little under a sixth have received their first dose of the vaccine, with over 18 million getting both doses. Data from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention shows coronavirus cases overall in the U.S. are on the decline. Well, yeah, because we have Biden as president now, so he fixed everything. CNN reported that there was 29% increase in cases over the previous week, the largest drop during the course of the pandemic so far. Saturday also marked the first time COVID-19 hospitalizations dropped below 60,000 since November 9th. However, Fauci's comments also come as the country approaches 500,000 deaths from the coronavirus, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. Interesting. Well, it's interesting how they wouldn't just take like the CDC report. Like the CDC number, you know, it must be compiled by Johns Hopkins, which is the official hospital of the CIA. The U.S. is also dealing with several coronavirus variants that are more transmissible, and in some cases deadlier. A study found that the coronavirus variant that originated in the United Kingdom is spreading quickly across the U.S. and is likely to become the most dominant variant in many states by next month. Another assessment found that this variant could be 30 to 70% deadlier than the original virus, yada, yada, yada. So there you go. Fauci trying not to be too inflammatory, but also making it clear that the masks are not going away, baby.
You know, the part that's most egregious is Fauci saying we're going to have significant degree of normality beyond the terrible burden that all of us have been through over the last year. Fauci, how much of a burden have you been through, Mr.
Yeah.
I became a super celebrity because of this pandemic guy?
People were mean to him on the internet. That's his burden.
Oh, no. Meanwhile, he made how much money from the how much do you think Fauci has made from the
We went through
pandemic?
this. He's the highest paid federal employee.
Right.
I think he makes close to $500,000 a year. It's like $413 or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, technically, just by the end of this year, he'll have made almost $1 million, plus his stakeholdership in Pfizer, or is it Moderna? It's Moderna.
Is it Moderna?
He's a big investor in Moderna. I believe it's Moderna. Is one of them.
Yeah.
I forget. Yeah. So I think he's doing okay.
Yeah. I think was the salary there before the pandemic? Wasn't he getting? I would imagine he was getting paid that before everything happened. But
yeah, he got a raise in 2019, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, just hey, you're going to be working a lot more this next year, so here's a little bump.
Yeah,
and also
we know it's coming, so we got to set you up.
Yeah, stock up on the Moderna stock there, so you can make a killing on that too. Yeah, so nobody is sympathetic to this man, unfortunately, and that brings us to. I like to look at the actual numbers, the CDC numbers, Basil.
Yeah, go straight to the source, like a good media literate person. You don't just listen to CNN, you go straight to the source.
Yeah, so this is cdc.gov, provisional death counts for coronavirus disease 2019, and this was updated on February 19th of 2021. And it gives you, just the death count since forever, weekly. And I was looking at this year, and obviously the numbers are they're starting to decline here. You got the 2nd of January, 22,694, then 22,000 again, then 19, 16, 12, 9, and then in the last week, 4,000. And again, there's a little bit of a delay, allegedly, because things don't get reported immediately. But here's what I found very, very peculiar, okay? We've covered this before, but this is just even more interesting. When you look at the number of all deaths involving influenza, I mean, since the new year, we're talking 44 in the first week of January, down to 25, 19. I think I did a summary here.
Wait, hold on. Slow down. You're saying 44 people?
44 people, yeah.
In the whole nation?
In the whole nation.
Wow. What is it on a usual year?
It was much higher. Usually, there's like 30,000 deaths average from from influenza. So we're on pace to have about 1,500 total deaths from influenza in 2021 if we keep up this pace. That's 1/30.
That's wonderful news.
It's great. But I think
we've defeated the flu.
Well, kind of. I think they just changed the numbers. See, they just flipped it to over to COVID-19 related deaths.
Yes, of course.
To keep the pandemic rolling. But I just find it appalling. If me, just a schmuck over here, the grumpy Gons, can go on the CDC website and look at these numbers and go, that's kind of weird. Oh, okay. Well, I guess all the death counts seem to have moved away from influenza and over to this new category called COVID-19. I mean, that's what it seems like is happening.
Yeah.
How come nobody's looking at that going, oh yeah, maybe that's what's happening?
They are. People are. Mainstream's not going to do it because, they're not real journalists. That's not their job. Their job is not to report facts. It's to perpetuate the narrative.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. This is a clip of a clinical lab scientist in virology and immunology scans 1,500 California COVID-19 positive lab samples with an electron microscope, and guess what he finds? Zero COVID virus.
Yeah, they can't actually find the virus in clinically positive samples.
Yeah, you want to hear the clip here?
Yeah.
In virology and immunology. I'm a clinical lab scientist and have tested 1,500 supposed positive COVID-19 samples collected here in Southern California. When my lab team and I did the testing through Koch's postulates and observation under a scanning electron microscope, we found no COVID in any of the 1,500 samples. What we found was that all of the 1,500 samples were mostly influenza A and some were influenza B, but not a single case of COVID, and we did not use the BSPCR test. It's polymerase chain reaction test. Celia Farber does wonderful journalism on the topic. I did videos on this channel for that. We then sent the remainder of the samples to Stanford, Cornell, and a few of the University of California labs, and they found the same results as we did. No COVID. They found influenza A and B. All of us then spoke to the CDC and asked for viable samples of COVID, which CDC said they could not provide as they did not have any samples. We have now come to the firm conclusion through all our research and lab work that the COVID-19 was imaginary and fictitious. The flu was called COVID, and most of the 225,000 dead were dead through comorbidities such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes, emphysema, etc. Then they got the flu, which further weakened their immune systems, and they died.
All right, I think we get the point. We've covered a lot of that before, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, the thing about this is, I'm not fully, out of all the evidence that we've looked at over this year and all the different angles and professionals and scientists and, all the alternative type of people, I'm not convinced that COVID-19 as an extant particle or slightly separate disease does not exist entirely, because if everything was straight up the flu, the flu doesn't give you a lot of these other weird symptoms that are allegedly connected to COVID. You don't get COVID toe or whatever. Your toes don't turn. You don't lose your taste or your sense of smell with the traditional flu. Now, is there some sort of mutation or some sort of combination or some sort of, variant of a flu that does these things? Maybe, I don't know. But I'm not fully on board with the 100% COVID-19 is imaginary, which it sounds like this guy was trying to say.
Sure. I mean, I think he's just reading the results of one medical practitioner, one clinical lab. And again, it's only 1,500 samples. There's a lot more people that got tested. So, and it depends kind of on how you look for things, I would assume, right? Because if you're looking for certain genetic strains of the virus, there are, the coronavirus has existed for 70 years or something in terms of being identified. So if you're looking at a certain part of the genetic information, you can, somebody can say, oh, there it is, it's COVID. And the other person can say, no, that's just part of the same thing as what you see in other coronaviruses or influenza. So,
and the issue being, if COVID is entirely imaginary, 100% imaginary, then what's the point of following the rabbit trail of the Wuhan Institute of Virology? And, that whole connection.
Right.
Sure. So the problem is with the sort of conspiratorial thinking is that it either is completely imaginary or, it possibly came from a lab that was funded by U.S. taxpayer dollars. If it is completely imaginary, then it couldn't have come from the lab. And I think the evidence of it escaping from a lab is a little bit too high.
Yeah. And I think we've maintained that as well in terms of, there's probably a COVID-19 virus out there, but to the effect of how much it affects people or how much it's actually killed people, I really don't think it's a lot of that I think has been inflated. And of course, politically it's been spun around. And I don't think the health officials locally and, various hospitals and everything, they, because I think, see, what's interesting about this whole thing is that because of the political nature of the virus in terms of how people respond to it, it caused every scientist or everybody that works in their own practice to become political, to make a decision. Okay, do I believe the stuff I'm being handed down from the up on high, ivory towers of science, or do I approach this as a scientist and see what the effects are really? And you know what I mean? I think
right.
It exposed who are really just following the Pied Piper in terms of science in general and medicine in general, and who are willing to actually do their own investigation. And those that did, it seems like they are either silenced or they're just, brushed off as crazy conspiracy theorists or whatever,
right?
Or banned off of Facebook and, social media and stuff.
Right.
So, I think more than anything, that's what it is. It's not so much that the virus is real or not. Yeah, there might be a strain out there that gives you kind of a flu-like thing, but does it kill you if you're not old and not struggling from some other comorbidity or some other symptom, some other thing?
The numbers are clear.
Yeah, it's you weren't going to die from this thing to begin with. So,
less than 1% of people
have died. Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like the lockdowns, all the masks, the social distancing, all that.
Hey, look,
I know. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just trying to summarize.
No, I'm not even talking to you. I'm talking to people in the chat because, of course, the second I say all that, they think I'm,
you're right.
A CNN shill, and I believe that I need to wear 3 masks, and just people's black and white thinking. Couldn't possibly have a subtlety in that idea. But speaking of which, I got some real fun for you, Gons. We figured it out. We figured out how we could have beat coronavirus last year. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This answer is coming from CNN. Thankfully, the bastions of truth. And the headline reads, "Reparations for slavery could have reduced COVID-19 transmission and deaths in the U.S." And that's not just me saying that, Gons. That's a Harvard study. Dun, dun, dun.
What?
If the U.S. Hold on.
That doesn't make any sense.
Hold on. If the U.S. had paid reparations to the descendants of Black Americans who were enslaved, though the risk of severe illness and death from the virus would be far lower, according to a new peer-reviewed study by the researchers.
You skipped the sentence at the beginning of the article.
I missed something. If the U.S. had paid reparations...
No. Before that, there's a sentence. COVID-19 is disproportionately sickening.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, they snuck it up above the headline thing. COVID-19 is disproportionately sickening and killing Black Americans, the results of centuries of structural racism, a group of Harvard researchers say. If the U.S. had paid reparations, the descendants of Black Americans who were enslaved, though the risk of severe illness and death from the virus would be far lower, according to a new peer-reviewed study by the researchers. Why is "though" thrown in there?
Well, I'm confused about what they're trying to say here.
Me too. If the U.S. had paid reparations, the descendants of Black Americans were enslaved, though the risk of severe illness and death from the virus would be far lower.
Yeah. You got to connect it from the first sentence. Don't let the picture divide the thing. So it's disproportionately killing Black Americans, but if the U.S. had paid reparations to the descendants of Black Americans, though the risk of the illness, death, and virus will be far lower.
That's weird.
To the new,
that's a weird structure.
Weird. Who wrote this? Who's the author of this?
Who did this?
Scotty Andrews.
Shilzilla?
No, unfortunately, it's Scotty Andrews. Scotty. Place the image in a better spot or something. Is that the editor's job? I don't know. Go ahead. Keep going here.
The group of researchers from Harvard Medical School and the Lancet Commission on Reparations and Redistributive Justice. Redistributive justice.
That sounds super totalitarian.
We must redistribute justice. Examined how reparation payments made before the pandemic would have affected Louisiana, a state that remains segregated in parts, and found that the payments could have reduced coronavirus transmission in the state anywhere between 31 and 68%.
How?
We'll get into that, but also some deceptive language here, talking about Louisiana, a state that remains segregated in parts.
Yeah. What?
Okay. What? So I hear what to say that Louisiana is segregated is giving the wrong idea, especially with American history. If the word segregated means like purposefully and legally.
Yeah, like the government drew lines and said black people over here, white people over there.
Just because black people tend to live in one area and white people tend to live in another area, that's not a good enough reason to use the word segregated. Anyways, but it's CNN, so there you go. As the U.S. approaches 1 year of living with COVID-19, Black Americans and other groups, including Hispanic and Native American people, are as much as 4 times more likely to be hospitalized than white Americans. Data from the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention shows. The researchers' latest findings highlight the importance of a pandemic strategy that considers the racial gap in COVID-19 exposure and transmission. So, real quick, they say here that Black Americans, Hispanics, Native American people are as much as 4 times more likely to be hospitalized. But why? Why is that? They don't say it, well, I mean, I guess we're led to believe that it's because they didn't get any reparations. But is this a social thing? Is this a genetic thing? Why exactly are they more likely to get sicker from COVID?
I don't know. I'm trying to skim through the article that they linked to, which is another CNN article. So I don't know if we're going to get anything out of it. But.
The researchers' latest findings highlight the importance of a pandemic strategy that considers the racial gap in COVID-19 exposure and transmission. The researchers said, quote, "The effects of racial justice interventions on black-white health disparities are rarely investigated, which forms part of how systemic racism is produced." Okay, study author Dr. Eugene Richardson, an assistant professor of global health and social medicine at Harvard Medical School, told CNN in an email, "Our study simply gives yet another example of how racism gets into people's bodies and makes them sick. Racism gets into people's bodies and makes them sick, which can be added to this litany of evidence for reparations." The study created a model of reparations. Interesting also, they're saying how it's Black Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, and yet they're not calling for reparations to Native Americans or Hispanics or anybody else. It's just, anyways. The crux of the research team's argument focuses on reparations, no kidding, or payments to African Americans who descended from enslaved people. If reparations work as proponents intend them to, the payments could narrow the racial wealth gap, which would in turn narrow gaps in access to health care, housing, education, employment, and more. To model how reparations would have effective COVID-19 transmission, the researchers chose Louisiana, one of the states that reported COVID-19 cases by race at the beginning of the pandemic, and a state where the population is still highly segregated
in
between
quotes.
Black and yes,
quotations,
quote,
highly segregated.
Quote, highly segregated between Black and non-Black residents, according to the study. Okay, according to the
study, it's highly segregated. Okay.
Researchers compared Louisiana at the outset of the pandemic to South Korea. That's a fair comparison. A relatively egalitarian society that doesn't have a, quote, large segregated subgroup of the population composed of the descendants of enslaved persons. Well, at least they're being specific.
Okay.
Their goal, according to the study, was to see if the difference in infection rates was driven by differences in social structures. To do this, the researchers created a statistical model, using R-naught, a mathematical term that represents the average number of people an infected person spreads the virus to. The term accounts for social structure, behavior, and differential risk, Richardson told CNN. You know what's interesting? So far with this whole article is the critical race theory. It's all critical race theory speak.
Yeah.
You know, there's yet to be a solid explanation of anything. When they get into trying to explain something, they just go into critical race theory speak, which for an average person, hearing it, you can just kind of gloss over and take the point like, oh yes, racism is all everything. But you actually try to parse out exactly what they're saying, and you almost can't without a critical race theory dictionary. They made their calculations with a model that would pay $250,000 in reparations per person. Whoa, or $800,000 per household. They also compared Louisiana. That seems like a lot of money.
It is.
$250,000 a person. They all okay, let's keep going. They also compared Louisiana and South Korea using infection data rates for the first 2 months of the epidemic. The researchers' model found that Louisiana took twice as long as South Korea to bring the R0 value to 1, the critical value at which an outbreak will die out in a population. Had reparations been introduced well before the pandemic and lessened the equity gap between blacks and whites, coronavirus transmission in Louisiana would have been reduced between 31 and 68% for residents of all races. Okay, so their point is, if you give $250,000 to every black American in Louisiana, a year before the pandemic, less people would have gotten sick. I think that's a pretty obvious thing. You give anybody $250,000 before a pandemic so they don't have to, go to work. They can afford delivery of food to their house, afford to do the solid thing. Of course, that's going to happen. And I guess technically, yes, if you had given $250,000 to every black person in Louisiana, COVID would have spread less. If you give $250,000 to every person, including Hispanics and Native Americans in Louisiana,
and what about,
it would have gone down even more.
What about the white population of Louisiana who's living in poverty? What about them?
Give everybody $250,000 and we could solve this coronavirus pandemic in just a couple months. I think we figured it out, Gons.
Well, according to that linked article, this is their logic here. Some communities of color, including Latinos and African Americans, are often uninsured or distrust the healthcare system. They have higher rates of conditions like hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, which can lead to more severe reaction to COVID-19, Cooper said. Jarvis Chen, a social epidemiologist at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, said more people of color have jobs where they can be exposed to the virus in areas like healthcare, food production, and public transportation. If they get sick, many are afraid their health may impact their ability to financially support their families in the short and long term. So yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
This is an economic thing. It's not a race thing at all.
Well, and isn't that always the case? You actually look. You strip away all the fancy critical race theory language. And the idea is if you give people $250,000, suddenly they don't have to go work at jobs that would put them at risk. No kidding. Doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, Native American, Gons. Doesn't matter. $250,000.
My own race.
Yeah,
my own race of Gons.
Yeah, I gave you your own categorization there.
I like that.
So I mean, come on. All right, it's just using and this has been the problem with a common problem pointed out in regards to critical race theory, which is it's just class warfare, but put in the context of color, of race, when really, classism is the biggest issue in America. You've got desperately poor black people, but also desperately poor white people, desperately poor people of any ancestry. And they're really the ones who are suffering versus, you got plenty of minorities who are making the big bucks. Especially if you count Asians, Gons, which they're trying to not to, but I won't let them forget about you, Gons. So there you go. This is just the normal economic class disparity in America, just being wrapped up in the critical race theory wrapping paper, where you could easily say, yes, you give $250,000 to the poorest of the populations in this country, that stop forcing, not forcing them, but people being in the position where they have to expose themselves to this flu-like condition, then we solved it.
Yeah, it's common sense. You don't need Harvard studies to see this. That's your money at work there. Yeah, you know, the dollar amount to give every African American in the United States $250,000 is about $10 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you know, chop off but what is it, a third of our debt?
Just a modest $10 trillion influx of cash into the American economy, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, no problem.
Which is, 5 times the amount of the current COVID stimulus stuff, most of which went to corporations. Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And just make sure some of those people buy Bitcoin.
Yeah. Buy it before it goes out of control.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick break here. You ready?
Yeah.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, everybody, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because right after the break, we are going to be talking about some politics, baby. We got Cuomo. Gotta talk Cuomo. We got some Chinese news. We've got some politicians who need therapy.
We have fact checking of the fact checkers fact checking fact checks.
Yep, got to fact check the fact checkers fact checks. And then we've got some space lasers and things like that. You're not going to want to miss it. So stick around, because after the break, we got much more show for you, folks. But before that, we want to take a second and thank some of our producers. That's right, our producers, because we are on the value for value model, which has institutionalized rebellion against the advertising industry. Where to even start? Advertising can be boiled down to basically being the seed of evil. That is at least the excuse for internet censorship, big data collection, privacy concerns, all of the main problems that are happening on the internet and in our lives is because of this evil little seed called advertising. And you might notice we don't do any ads on this show, no affiliate codes, no corporate money whatsoever, not even YouTube checks or Twitch tips or something. No corporate money at all. We are entirely funded by producers, not just listeners. They are producers. And so the value for value model works pretty simply. We put out some value. We do the show 3 times a week, not a day, and we try to do the best we possibly can. And if you get any value out of what we do, you just have the opportunity to put a number on that and put it back into the system, because it is the only way that the show continues to go. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. When the producers say stop, when the producers stop producing, the show stops getting produced. That's just the simple math. No need to get any corporations in on this.
Don't need to get all racial.
Don't need to get. Hey, look, if everybody gave us $250,000, Gons and I would not have to ask for producerships. It's that simple, folks.
I'm a POC, so, $500,000 for me. You're the token white man. You get less.
Yes. Well, I'm just so privileged, So there you go, folks. That's how it works. And so when that happens, when people accept the invitation to rebel against the global theology of advertising, the willful brainwashing, thanks to what's his name? Andrew Bernays. Yes.
Edward Bernays.
Edward Bernays, the father of marketing in the mid 20th century there, and nephew to Sigmund Freud. He pretty much in plain language talked about how advertising is mind control and how human beings just love to have their worldview given to them, handed to them. And not only that we can commoditize the human mind in order to keep this whole system going. So we decided that's not the right way to go. And for those who join the movement, and realize that you don't need to beg for advertisements in order to keep media going. You can indeed take responsibility for your own media future. They become producers of this show, and that's a real thing. That's not just a cutesy title. Just like the real world, if you pay to get media produced, you are a producer of that media. So we want to thank some of our producers, the heroes of the show this episode, by thanking them now. And the first way to do that is to head over to patreon.com/CCNT. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And I want to thank producer Lady Liberty for upgrading their producership. Thank you very much, producer Lady Liberty.
Yep.
Hello?
Yep. Thank you very much.
I didn't hear the noise.
Oh, you talking over it.
No, it was gonging underneath me. But so thank you very much, Lady Liberty, over there on patreon.com/CCNT. We also have Canary Cry Radio, which is our interview style show. If you have not, we've been doing that show since 2012. We're coming up on our 9-year anniversary, Gons.
Is it going to be 9? Oh, yeah, it will be 9. Yeah.
It'll be 9 years. So if you haven't done it yet, go check out Canary Cry Radio, which is separate from Canary Cry News Talk. I know people are still figuring it out, but go check it out. Interview style show. It's a wonderful listening for those who are interested in the more interesting things. But we have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. And I want to thank our new producer, All Might Bear.
Thank you, All Might Bear.
Very much. All Might Bear came in with a 33 Illuminati Handler producership. Thank you very much, All Might Bear.
Actually, now, I think that's 33 and 6 cents. It's the Watchman tier that we have for Canary Cry Radio there. But go on.
Okay,
I digress.
I will.
From
now,
Ezekiel
Patreon is not the only way to become a producer. A lot of people don't like Patreon. That's okay. We support you. You can head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. And that's a great place to do it. You can come in with monthly producerships. We appreciate that very much for those who choose to help lay down a firm foundation for the show every month. But if commitment is not your thing, there's also one-time producerships in any amount. Gons, who do we have producing on the PayPal for episode 303?
PayPal 303 producers. First one, Brian H.
Thank you very much, producer Brian H.
And next up, we have Lifewater Ranch.
Ooh, Lifewater Ranch. Thank you. Do you think they make life water? Isn't that a drink?
Yeah, I think
I'm thinking of vitamin water, but life water is a thing. Sobe. Yeah, it was Sobe Life Water.
Oh, I wonder if it's the ranch that makes it.
Thanks, Sobe.
Great.
Thank you, producer
Advertising
Lifewater Ranch.
advertising companies that we don't know are even part of this whole thing. But anyway, yes.
Shoot, we just gave Sobe product placement.
Yeah, you did. Good job.
Ah.
And we're not getting, we kind of are quasi, thanks to Lifewater Ranch there. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Lifewater Ranch.
Next up, we have producer Axel C.
Thank you very much, producer Axel. Came in with the 1111 producership.
Yeah, very good. And also producer Saul A.
There he is. Thank you very much with the pocket full of sevens.
That's right. We don't have any nights. You can support us with cryptocurrency, canarycryradio.com/crypto to get a little update on what that's all about. Big pullback in the market today. It's on sale, folks. Everything's on sale.
Yeah, now's your chance.
Oh, you know what's funny about that too? Real quick, CNN came out with an article that said, cryptocurrency bear market confirmed. And everybody online was like, oh, bear market. Or a bull market confirmed now that CNN is claiming bear market for crypto.
Right. If whatever CNN says about crypto, act in the opposite manner.
Act in the opposite, yeah. Act in the opposite. And also timestamps to our videos. Thank you very much to Jade Bouncerson. We appreciate that. Ugh. I'm messing up my consonants and letters and numbers. Also, you can send us jingles. with your time and talent, or you can send us your art.
One art, please.
And today we have a few people, mostly regulars, coming in with their art. This first one comes from producer Grace. She said, my art for the show today is a little out there. I apologize in advance. It had to do with the call out for the Gone with the Wind poster. I based it off the movie posters and did my own take on it. Starring Gons Shimura and Basil Rosewater, Gone with the Wind. The bromance continues. And
yes. For those who are just listening, you can look at the Gone with the Wind movie poster, but imagine instead of, oh man, what was that guy's name? I forget. But the main protagonist, the male character, just replace that with Gons and Clark Gable. Thank you, Milky D.
Yeah.
Yes, and the female
Vivian
lead.
Vivian Lee? Scarlett?
Oh, maybe, yeah, I'm not sure. But yes, Scarlett Johansson.
Johansson.
Sorry, I've been watching Marvel too much.
Yeah.
Being played by myself with my nice big googly eyes. And thank you very much for this sight I cannot unsee, Grace.
You know, I'm just really glad that Grace chose me as the male figure.
Uh-huh.
And
look at
you.
You've even got your shirt unbuttoned like three buttons.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah. Look, it got some chest stubble. It's really detailed.
She also really captured how uncomfortable I feel in this. I'm just like, you could just tell this is against our will.
It is a little on the blasphemy side there.
Very beautifully done. It's a bromance,
It's a bromance. I
just
get it.
Best buddies. Thank you very much, producer Grace. Excellent.
She made the posters so accurate too, with the little flowers on the edges.
Very detailed.
It's got the old Western style font. Very, very well done. Thank you for that, producer Grace. It's always a good time. Next up, producer Mike B sent us a series of art. This first one is Psaki, the White House press secretary.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of a spiral, circling in. It's just a circle.
Yeah, she's circling back.
So
this is the
circling back.
Jennifer Psaki circling back, and especially well done on the next one here, where you've got Jennifer Psaki's face in the middle and an ancient Ouroboros surrounding her. Because yes, not only was Jennifer Psaki circling back, just a way for her to dodge answering any important questions about the Biden administration, but it is also her occult ritual.
Yeah,
to connect with the ancient serpent, the Ouroboros.
Yes, and we have a Psaki story in the POLYTICK section coming up here, and one final piece from producer Mike B. is Putin sauce, Putin's own Russian dressing.
Yeah. Putin sauce, a phrase that came out of nowhere last episode, just to, Putin, you just throw some Putin sauce on it.
Just put a little flavor to our ramblings.
Yes, so we've got a nice, based on a Newman's own dressing, we've got Putin's own Russian dressing. Very good. Thank you, producer Mike B.
Yes, and we also got a piece from producer Chris B. And he said, we are longtime listeners, even longer followers on YouTube, and even have supported on Patreon back before we hated it and stopped using it. We understand. Anyway, I had a dream earlier this week, and I felt compelled to draw it on paper the following day. After coloring it, we scanned it to make it a digital copy, and I figured you two might like to use it. Either way, we wanted you to know that we truly enjoy listening to Canary Cry News Talk. We appreciate your hard work, and we wanted to send some love your way. We're on the third YouTube channel, Faith Mountain Media. It's Faith Mountain Media, for those of you who want to check that out. And it looks like our YouTube days are numbered yet again, so we figured we'd send this off to you ASAP. Stay strong. Peace be with you both, and you'll remain in our prayers in Jesus' name. So thank you so much, producer Chris B. Do you want to describe what's going on here? This is from his dream.
Yeah, I can certainly try. So I think that the basic concept here is a road or a path, a winding path, and it's zigzagging back and forth and swirling around, and sometimes narrow, sometimes wide, moving through different things like a forest and things like that. And along this road,
I was going to say that one side of the road here, or just it's kind of like a maze, is heaven, salvation, life. Jesus is Lord, and the other side is hell. So, and everything in between, which is kind of an interesting way to put things. But go ahead, try to describe some of the stuff that's in there.
Well, it shows the maybe different stages of going down these different paths. Of course, one is narrow and includes things, let's see here. Oh, I got to make it bigger. Obviously leading to an inevitable Jesus is Lord, seal of God, armor of God, agape. But on the wider path here, you've got, which way do I read this? Works, want, joyride, greed, be as gods, easy, take, distraction, good deeds, popularity, new age, wealth, earthly pleasure. Now the road is wide and open and attractive, and it keeps going. Accolades, anarchy, unity, peace and safety, control, pride, security, and the road starts getting tighter. Self, love of self, rituals. Oh, the road's getting spookier. Antichrist. Miracles, gluttony, miracles on an advertisement, like a billboard, gluttony, false doctrine, witchcraft, and of course, descending into the red, renounced Jesus, wrath, death, damnation, hell. There you go. But going on over on the other side here, if you so choose, you've got things like persecution, distraction, difficulty, discipleship, gospels, poverty, heavenly treasure, repentance, obedience, separation, correction, glory to God, perhaps captivity or prayer. And but along this road, you get all the way to the heavenly side. So very, very detailed. You want to take a moment to sit with this and let it do its work on you. So thank you very much, Chris B.
Yeah, it's like a roadmap of life. Just in one image, you can take one path down to hell or the other path towards heaven. It's pretty compelling. Very, very well done.
Very fun.
So nice work there. And also make sure to check out
apostate's U-turn sign.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot going on. It's good. So you can see the art over at canarycrynewstalk.com, and also make sure to check out Faith Mountain Media, which is Chris B's YouTube channel. So thank you for that. And last piece of art I wanted to share is, of course, Allie coming in with a hand-drawn Putin sauce.
Yes, official patented Putin sauce. Thank you very much, producer Allie. And of course, it's you don't need much on the label of Putin sauce. It's basically just Putin.
Yeah, just have his face.
So stern, so patronly.
Yeah. And the word,
very good.
The word's Putin sauce, and that's really all you need.
It is what it is. You don't need don't ask about the ingredients or nutritional information. You don't want to know that. But thank you very much, producer Allie.
Yeah,
you like Putin sauce? It goes good on all borscht.
Did you know? I didn't know this, that in Russia they made. Beer was categorized as alcohol in like 2011 or something.
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't even considered alcohol.
No, beer was not considered alcohol in Russia until this decade or this last decade.
That's funny.
That's crazy. So yeah, maybe that's what Putin sauce is, mixed with vodka. Okay, that's I think that's all we have for today. For producers, thank you everybody for contributing. Whether it's with your time, talent, or treasure, we really do appreciate it. And it helps us keep going.
And please consider becoming a producer of next episode. That'll be episode 304. And that'll be going down on the 24th of February. So if maybe you've been listening for a while and you haven't become a producer yet, consider how much value you get out of the show. And it's simple. Just think about putting that value back into the show. Thank you very much to all of our producers of this episode 303, Lady Liberty, All Might Bear, Brian H., Lifewater Ranch, Axel, and Saul. And of course, to all of our artists. Okay, ready to wake up?
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Poly. It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
your blood.
Dang, I missed it. Dave on D Live had a great catchphrase for Putin sauce. You'll be putting it on everything. Thank you very much, Dave. Okay, you want to start this one off here?
Yeah, this is insider.com. Japan has appointed a minister of loneliness after seeing suicide rates in the country increase for the first time in 11 years. Minister of loneliness.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'll just read a couple paragraphs here. We don't have to go into it. Japan has appointed a minister of loneliness to try. What? Who wrote this?
Japan has appointed a minister of loneliness to try and reduce loneliness.
It's like a Japanese person rather than Asian.
Yeah.
To try and reduce loneliness and social isolation among its residents as the country deals with rising suicide rates, Tomohiro Osaki reported for the Japan Times. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga appointed Tetsushi Sakamoto, who is already a minister in charge of dealing with Japan's declining birth rate and promoting regional revitalization to oversee government policies to deal with loneliness and isolation. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Suga chose Sakamoto as his Minister for Economic Revitalization when he was elected in September 2020.
This is, I think they got the right guy for the job. He was minister in charge of dealing with Japan's declining birth rate.
Yeah.
Which, it seems like he would know a thing or two about helping prevent loneliness. So he can kill two birds with one stone. Fix the loneliness and fix the birth rate problem.
You know what Japan needs is a, what was that show called? With the matchmaking show that was really popular when we were kids. I don't know. Maybe you were too young to remember, but there's like a
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Love Connection. I think that's what it was called. Did you ever see that show?
I don't think I did.
It's Love Connection. And then they have like people behind. It's like the classic thing where they have people behind curtains or whatever, and they talk about themselves, and it's just it's a matchmaking show. I guess
I am
it's still
familiar with the concept.
Yeah, they need to do that in Japan, but or maybe like a Japan Bachelor or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
They have to already have that.
They need to step it up.
This is interesting. You know much more about the Japanese system than I do, but you have a minister who is in charge of the declining birth rate. So obviously he's trying to get people together and have more babies. Mm-hmm. He's at the same time in charge of, he's the minister of loneliness, who's in charge of making people not lonely. Obviously, these two things can be solved at once. Is there like a government... It's almost like you could see a situation in some, alternative universe where you get just like government provided spouses or matchmaking.
I don't know if it's going to go that direction, but
singles.gov.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they need to have more, tax breaks or something, more incentive. I know in the United States, that's what it was for a little while. The whole idea of marriage license is a tax thing. It's not so much of a sacred thing. That's more of a spiritual or religious thing for marriage. Or for believers, marriage is a union with man and a woman and God, and it's kind of this sacred thing. But in Japan, they don't see it that way. There's no sacredness to marriage. It's strictly legal. So I don't know that would be the best option. They would need to somehow provide some transcendent qualities to marriage and part of it is because Japan's culture is so void of that stuff. There's the westernization of Japan has really caused a downward spiral of lots of traditions that are really dying out. Which, starting with the whole idea of the samurai system being taken out by the West, and that really caused a chain reaction. And now it's to the point where they're embracing so much of Western culture in the entertainment, and I will say occult. A lot of their just, their culture is occult-ish. It just falls into, they don't need to have eugenics programs out there because the spiritual side of things, I would say, feeds into that idea of like, oh, I don't really want children. It's a burden. And I need to work till I die. And it's just a very different cultural thing. So this guy, the Minister of Loneliness, I guess it's to the point where, hey, yeah, we're part of the population reduction thing, but from the internal side of things, they're like, hey, we should probably have more kids if we want to maintain sovereignty of our island, kind of thing. So, because you don't want, because I mean, this is the same guy, this Suga, the new prime minister. He's the one that said they're gonna. I know, Suga Knight. He's the same one that said they're going to open up the borders for Japan and be more culturally diverse and stuff like that. So, and people were kind of upset about that. They're like, well, no, we like our people. We like the homogeny of Japan.
Right.
So
right.
Maybe there's ultimately there's kind of a hidden agenda here where, hey, we need to bring the population back up. Why don't we open it up to foreigners, and we'll just become we'll contribute to the all races become one agenda.
Yeah,
everyone has gray skin.
That's the thing with the economics in general, but specifically Western economics and capitalism that Japan has really tried to emulate in a strong fashion. Is it requires growth of population. The current capitalist system requires growth year after year, and to some degree, you need a growth of population in order to keep that happening. And you can do that in two ways. Either people have babies or you let other people into the country. And it sounds like Japan is not doing a good job at either one of those things right now.
Yeah, I need to go over there and start my Gons matchmaking service. Or you can enforce a arranged marriage situation. We can bring that into the culture.
Do they do that over there?
No.
Oh.
But it would be fun.
But they will once they get a load of our algorithms. Yeah. We'll find you the perfect match.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting and kind of sad too. There's a lot of people that suicide rates are very high in Japan because again, the culture of it all. And I mean, Japan is the ground zero when it comes to robots and machines and technology and all that kind of stuff. And you see the effects psychologically and spiritually as things go on. So
well, speaking of psychological effects, let's talk about Cuomo.
Oh, those rings around the chest area really messes with my psychology. I'll tell you that.
We've got we've been following Cuomo and his slow descent into madness, and I got this story from notthebee.com, which is the real news arm of the Babylon Bee, Not the Bee.
Well, by the way, you were so I think we were one of the first, not first, but we promoted Babylon Bee very early on. We were like, these guys are awesome. Yeah. And now Elon Musk is retweeting Babylon Bee.
I know, man. It just shows we're just right about everything.
I know.
It's crazy. Yeah, even, yeah. Anyways, let's keep going.
Go ahead.
The headline is, quote, "You have not seen my wrath." Governor Cuomo threatens to, quote, "destroy New York Dem Assemblyman if he doesn't keep his mouth shut about the nursing home deaths cover-up. All right, so one of the beautiful things about Not the Bee is, it's written with a lot of attitude. This is not your normal news report, but that's why we love it. New York Assemblyman Ron Kim has apparently been a little too outspoken concerning Governor Andrew Cuomo's cover-up of nursing home deaths in New York State. Last week, after Cuomo's top aide Melissa DeRosa accidentally admitted to the cover-up during a phone call with state legislators, Assemblyman Kim decided to open his mouth to the public about it. This is a block quote here. Assemblyman Ron Kim, who took part in the call, told the Post on Thursday that DeRosa's remarks sounded, quote, like they admitted that they were trying to dodge having any incriminating evidence that might put the administration or the health department in further trouble with the Department of Justice. Quote, "That's how I understand their reasoning of why they were unable to share in real time the data," Kim said. "They had to first make sure that the state was protected against federal investigation." Well, apparently that made Andrew Cuomo very mad. So Andrew Cuomo gave Assemblyman Kim a call. And then there's this little video here. Oh, it's 7 minutes long. So, oh no.
Yeah, the video.
Let's play this.
You want to play it instead of the that, because I think it quotes some of that stuff.
It quotes it. Yeah. So why don't we play it? It starts it.
Okay.
Phone call and what the point of it was, the request.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me on the show. And I think what's happening here is when we get closer to the truth behind the growing nursing home scandal in New York, Governor Cuomo tries to implicate you in the cover-up or threatens your livelihood if you don't lie for him. And that's what happened to me in the last 1 week. I was one of 6 lawmakers in that private meeting for 2 hours with Secretary DeRosa when she accidentally told us the truth, that there was a cover-up and fear that the information would be weaponized against Governor Cuomo. That moment, I had to tell the truth, and I had to let the public know what happened. And Governor Cuomo called me the next day at 8 p.m. while I was about to bathe my kids. I was with my wife, and for 10 minutes, he berated me. He yelled at me. He told me that my career will be over. He's been biting his tongue for months against me. And I had tonight, not tomorrow, tonight, to issue a new statement, essentially asking me to lie, and asking me, like, I heard and I saw a crime the other day. And he's asking me that I did not see that crime. And that was the line that a line that he crossed that can't be undone. And that's why I had no choice but to come out and speak up. As the chair of the Asian Committee in the State Assembly, it's my job to investigate. It's my job to ask these tough questions, and I shouldn't be punished for doing my job.
So just to be very clear, what exactly was he asking you to lie about, allegedly?
He was asking me to issue a statement countering what I heard the previous day.
Didn't he already
was asking
go over
me
this?
That's not what you heard. This is what he said. Are you a lawyer? That's the first question he asked. And I said, I'm not. Then you must have not understood what my secretary told you. She didn't say any of that. She said, we have to work on the federal government first, and then the state. That's what she said. Go back to your staff and the speaker's staff, draft a statement, and issue that tonight. Not tomorrow. Do it tonight.
Mr. Kim, it's Willie Geist. Good to have you with us this morning. I just want to read part of a statement yesterday from the Cuomo's office. Quote, "Mr. Kim is lying about his conversation with Governor Cuomo Thursday night. I know because I was one of 3 other people in the room when the phone call occurred. At no time did anyone threaten to destroy anyone with their wrath nor engage in a cover-up." That comes from an aide to Governor Cuomo. What do you say to that? Did he explicitly say to you, "I will destroy you"? We don't have to really guess, I guess, because he went out at his press conference yesterday and went on a long rant about your allegations against you, about your role with nail salons in Queens, which is not terribly interesting to our national audience. But he did begin to go after you on a more personal level. So how did you interpret his comments on the phone Thursday night?
I mean, it was loud enough for my wife to hear, and I tried to shield her, but she was in shock. She didn't get any sleep that night, and we were terrified. And, he left a shocking moment for all of us in our family. And I think every day, Governor Cuomo and his team defends many different versions of the truth. While lawmakers like me, we're tasked to pursue the constant singular truth behind what happened in our nursing homes. And the truth is this: Governor Cuomo allowed his top donors to write business-friendly policies like legal immunity for nursing homes.
All right, so there you go.
Yeah, and some parts that were not in that video. There's quotes like, well, I'll read the block quote here. Quote, "At first there was silence on the phone," Kim said. "Then the governor says, 'Mr. Kim, are you an honorable man?' Kim, who had taken part in the February 10th conference call with DeRosa and lashed out at Cuomo over the cover-up in the Post article, said he was, quote, 'in the middle of bathing my kids when Cuomo called.' Cuomo, he said, asked him to draft a statement to say that Melissa DeRosa, there's a federal investigation and that they had to deal with it first. The conversation quickly turned medieval," Kim said, with Cuomo warning him, quote, "You have not seen my wrath. I've been biting my tongue for months. Quote, I can tell the whole world what a bad person you are, and you will be finished," Kim recalled Cuomo saying. "You will be destroyed." Cuomo was so angry, Kim said, that, quote, "my wife could hear the governor yelling into the phone." At one point, Cuomo, a former state attorney general, also asked if Kim was a lawyer, which he is not. Quote, "After that call, we were devastated. My wife didn't sleep at all." Later, Cuomo, quote, "called me 4 or 5 times on Saturday, but he didn't pick up," Kim said. And let's see, Bill de Blasio got in on it. I don't know if we want to play that or not, but that's it's got about a minute and a half of him getting in on the convo. What do you think?
All right, let's check it out.
Have you ever heard of anything like that from Governor Cuomo? Have you ever spoken with him and anything like that happened?
Yeah, it's a sad thing to say, Mika, but that's classic Andrew Cuomo.
Burn.
People in New York State
burn.
Have those phone calls. The bullying is nothing new. I believe Ron Kim, and it's very, very sad. No public servant, no person who's telling the truth should be treated that way. But yeah, the threats, the belittling, the demand that someone change their statement right that moment. Many, many times I've heard that, and I know a lot of other people in this state have heard that.
All right. I think that's sufficient.
De Blasio turning on Cuomo as well. And so to finish this out, so now Assemblyman Kim has introduced a bill which accuses it's an actual piece of legislation which accuses Cuomo of obstruction of justice and will strip him of his emergency powers, which the Assembly voted in favor of almost a year ago. And you can read the letter which introduces the bill here. So this is interesting. It's a different route than Newsom is experiencing, where he's getting full-on cancellation. Cuomo is getting legislation to strip him of these unconstitutional emergency powers, which we saw governors all over the country sort of using the pandemic as an excuse as a power grab. But, and the fear always, for those of you who pay attention, the fear is always, when the government or an individual gets more power and claiming that it's temporary. It never is temporary. But here we have the first step in a governor who obviously and sort of grossly overestimated his ability to control his state with these emergency powers, is getting them stripped away. So it's that's kind of a victory. I think that's kind of cool.
We'll see what happens, but Cuomo won an Emmy, so maybe his response is, "I was acting. I wasn't really yelling at Ron Kim. Just an act, just putting my acting chops to use."
Yeah. So there you go. The Cuomo drama continues, which I don't think this surprises anybody, and it's hilarious. Even more so, just on a sort of worldview paradigm level. for Democrats to be seeing that their beloved Cuomo is similar to how they would describe Trump.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
This outrageous, angry, threatening, belligerent, power-hungry type of person. You know, Cuomo was on the bleeding edge of the Trump bashing, and now he's found himself in a similar situation. It's simply delicious.
Yeah, and New York is about 10%. There's about 10% of Asians in New York, so you can imagine he's lost that constituents.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, more politicking here, and this is a quick clip of some Chinese news.
Welcome to Chinese news.
All right, let's see if this clip works here of Psaki being asked why Biden signed an executive order giving China access to the U.S. power grid. Let's see here.
Thanks, Jen. In an executive order that the president signed last week, he also suspended a Trump administration executive order that was particularly aimed at keeping foreign countries, specifically China, from interfering in the U.S. power grid. But he suspended that for 90 days in that executive order last week. Given what you said about China today, why did he do that, especially related to something so critical to our national security as the power grid?
I think the president's view on our relationship with China, I tried to do my best to convey to all of you. I'll have to check on that specific piece, and we'll circle back with you.
Circle back.
Circle.
She's got to circle back.
That question was pretty straightforward. I mean, you know, again, this is exposing the whole Biden situation with China. It's like, oh, yeah, you know, we're going to be hard on China. And then when asked why did he suspend the thing where the Chinese or any foreign government can interfere with our energy grid, which, you know, we just went through that whole thing in Texas. She goes, yeah, I've tried to convey our thing with China to you guys, so we'll circle back. Non-answer. I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course.
I think her not saying anything about it shows exactly what the agenda is and what is actually taking place more than the words she used. It's the words she doesn't use.
Which is most words.
Which is everything.
Which is any words at all.
Yeah. And this story here, I like this one. NewYorkPost.com. Huge amount of lawmakers, staff seeking therapy after Capitol riot. Do I have a violin? Like a sad violin song or a clip?
No, this one's great. This is from NewYorkPost.com, which is always a fun time. Yeah. And the headline is Huge Amount. Huge amount. It's like Trump wrote this. Huge amount of lawmakers, staff seeking therapy after Capitol riot. The House is officially in therapy. In the weeks after the January 6th Capitol insurrection, which left at least 5 dead, lawmakers and their staff in the House of Representatives are seeking out mental health counseling. Paul Tewksbury, director of the House Office of Employee Assistance, told lawmakers in a Thursday hearing that his office has provided 760 counseling sessions since the events of January 6th, something he called a significant increase. Tewksbury said there had been around 3,000 contacts between his office and the Capitol Hill community in the first half of 2020. The ongoing fallout from the coronavirus pandemic has hobbled the office's services, though Tewksbury reported that a huge amount of phone calls for those seeking assistance were taking place. The news was first reported by Roll Call, which last month also covered mental health fallout from the attack. Quote, "There's a lot of stress and anger going on. We're validating feelings, whatever they are." We're validating feelings. Representative Gerald E. Cannelly told the Capitol Hill newspaper, quote, "Interestingly, the people I think who are struggling the most are the people who physically were not here." That's an interesting one to land on. Interestingly, the people I think who are struggling the most are the people who physically were not here, meaning at the time of the January 6th event. Now here, look. Mental health is very serious, and trauma can be very debilitating. And I think I think it's very important for people to get the help that they need. But the fact that most of the people who are calling to get this help were not actually at the event, I find a little strange.
Yeah, and also we're talking about lawmakers. Aren't these the same people on Capitol Hill who are like sending troops to other countries to fight wars and putting that all into process here?
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones. So they're okay with war, sending troops to war, and doing all kinds of economic damage. But if an insurrection on the Capitol and I need therapy. I mean, again, nothing wrong with therapy.
Well, it's one thing to have been in the building and like gotten, if you had any interaction or had stuff stolen or, I don't know, saw something that might have spooked you and, you thought you were safe and you find out that you're not really safe. That can all be very impactful trauma. But to have not even been there that day and still need, I wonder this, and look, I'm just asking questions here. I wonder if they get paid or get some sort of credit. Of course, you get your your social justice points for needing the therapy, but I wonder if there's some sort of incentive, like you can get an hour off of your work day if you just use it for this therapy purpose or something.
Maybe, and putting good use to their health care stuff there. I don't know. Yeah. My response to the whole thing was there's a famous clip of the late Kobe Bryant talking to another basketball player, calling him soft. Oh, how come I can't get to it? Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I mean, it's not an audio. It's a video that's become a GIF or a GIF, depending on how you say it. But it's basically Kobe saying, he's shaking his head, calling other players soft. That's what I did to all the lawmakers in Washington D.C. Soft.
Yeah.
Come on,
a bunch of softies.
I mean, if you're gonna, I don't know, the people that are in charge of making or passing laws in this country, I don't know. There's something about it that you got to be a little more mentally tough, I would imagine. But
yeah, well, certainly that's been some of the biggest. I don't know, criticism that they've gotten over.
Just experience life, people experience traumas in life and they get through it.
You get used to a certain level of security when you're working on Capitol Hill, both mentally, physically, and, even maybe some sort of supernaturally, if you are in the occult world there. You believe that you're in the seat of power, you're in the hallowed temple of democracy, and nothing can hurt you there. You've made it. You're at the top, baby. And then some guy in a Viking helmet comes running through the hallway. You're like, oh, no.
Yeah, I
see how
suppose
that might shift your paradigm a little bit.
I suppose it shatters your little comfort bubble. But, no, even if it was staged, maybe that was the plan of the elite. Maybe they were.
See,
maybe they wanted to have that psychological effect on our policymakers, and but also remembered the interview with what's her name? Pelosi, where she tried to cry and she couldn't get the tears out. So I don't know. I think it's all. Yeah.
It was the Botox wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on here.
Okay.
People in the chat calling me liar. Pretty good.
No,
stuff.
I've seen that. It's just another person wanting to hijack and get attention.
Nice.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. If you want to know our thoughts on flat Earth, just listen to every episode we've ever done. And so.
Yeah, and apparently if you interview somebody that is a flat earther, that makes you a flat earther. So
I'm going to ban this person. I'm going to do it.
It's Latin for many. Now suck your blood. Politics. Your blood.
This is the Federalist.com. Politifact is ticked that we fact-checked their false fact-check of our fact-check of their fact-check.
Huh?
Did you follow that? Politifact botched a fact-check of a fact-check in a story exposing the group's absence of a fact-check. On Friday, Politifact editor-in-chief Angie Holland twice demanded the Federalist issue a correction to a story published Wednesday on comments the group was not very interested in fact-checking Vice President Kamala Harris. Quote,
"This is hurting my head."
Quote, "We've always been more interested in fact-checking the president than the vice president," Holland wrote in an email Wednesday when pushed on why the group had failed to fact-check demonstrably false comments from Harris. Quote, "That was true for the past two administrations as well." Harris claimed during an interview with Axios on HBO published this week that the Biden administration has been forced to start, quote, "from scratch on coronavirus vaccine distribution." Quote, "We're starting from scratch," Harris said, only to be directly contradicted by National Institute of Health Director Anthony Fauci speaking to reporters a month earlier. Quote, "We're certainly not starting from scratch," Fauci said. In fact, the Trump administration put Team Biden on track to reach its initial goal of 100 million vaccines in the first 100 days. On the day after Biden was inaugurated, 1.3 million Americans were inoculated, according to Bloomberg News. Politifact told the Federalist the group has no plans to fact-check Harris for the reason stated above, and added the fact-checking organization already fact-checked a similar claim when it was made by White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain in January. The group rated Klain's comments, quote, "mostly false." Politifact took issue with the Federalist story published February 17th, however, over the publication highlighting the group's last fact check of President Joe Biden dated for February 10th, 1 week earlier. Quote, "Your report is wrong in multiple ways," Holland wrote in a Friday email. Quote, "For one, we published 3 fact checks on February 13th. So our last check on Biden was the day before your report was published. The link you use in the story shows that. Please issue a correction ASAP," end quote. Holland followed up 2 hours later demanding an update. The link embedded in the initial posts to Biden's fact checks on the PolitiFact website, however, which remains unchanged, shows PolitiFact published 3 fact checks after the story was published in the Federalist of statements made on February 16th, including Biden's remarks on vaccines. Contrary to Holland's assertions, these fact checks were published on February 17th and 18th following the Federalist article. PolitiFact still has not published a fact check on Harris's erroneous assertion that Biden White House has been forced to start from scratch with vaccination distribution. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was. We had to start from scratch.
This is at a certain level. This is like theater for theater's theater. It's
you mean the fact check of the fact check of the fact check?
Yeah, this is just like, oh my gosh, who cares? Who cares? Federalist, who cares?
This is what happens when the media or reporters or outlets or institutions, they go from trying to report on reality to thinking that they are reality.
Yeah.
It's no longer. I mean, it's kind of like podcasters fighting each other. Sometimes it'll happen, and so whatever. But then you realize, who cares if these podcasters are yelling at each other or not? None of this matters. And that's, I still think we should start our own fact-checking organization.
This fact checked is our opinion only. So I do think this is troubling, but also it just goes to show the state of our country and our media, where organizations, because I guess the Federalist was just pointing out the fact that Harris contradicted something stated by Fauci, a month earlier, which you can tackle that. You can report that. If you're a standard objective media, you can say, oh, that's different from what was said earlier, and we'll wonder why. But no, because they're so, complicit or compliant to their bias politically, there's like absolutely no way we can go against our political leaders and stuff. So it's just ridiculous.
it's all politicized. That's the thing. They try to present it as reality, but it's really just presenting a political version of some sort of fact check.
This is the kind of thing where I feel like the audience is going to start tuning out entirely with mainstream media in general. That's my hope anyway. I'm just picturing the crowd. Yeah, I'm picturing the crowd look at, PolitiFact, and they're like, "Oh, we took a fact check," and then toward the Federalists, and they're like, "We fact checked the fact check," and then they just go back and forth, and eventually they're like, "This is ridiculous. I'm walking out of this theater right here."
Yeah, it's just the funny thing about it is it's so uninteresting.
It is.
Like,
who cares? Harris lied. Fauci lied. They're all liars. Who cares? We get it.
Even the idea of a fact check or a fact-checking institution assumes that the audience assumes that the audience doesn't already know.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. I mean, in a way, this show is basically just a bunch of fact-checking.
But at least we're open about our bias.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not even, of course we are. But it's, it's looking into mainstream, reading mainstream articles, picking out where they flip-flopped or they're misstating facts or they're going off of, some math that a magician got to make it sound in the way that they want it to sound. But the idea that mainstream outlets would just go back and forth and fact check each other is it's just kind of like this horribly dystopian apocalyptic Ouroboros of nobody cares.
Yeah, apparently we're having our own fact checked of a fact checker in our chat, which is pretty entertaining to watch as well. Okay, let's go to this next story here because we're getting a little long
easy to block people. It's so fun. By the way, just to be clear, and for those who listen to the show regularly, you know this. I'll just ban somebody if they annoy me. So keep that in mind.
Oh,
yeah,
the arbiter of truth, Basil's iron hammer fist.
I know. And the funny thing is, some people will take that in a very serious manner. But just telling you, folks, from my side over here, give me a reason. Test me. This is fun. Producer Aaron Moffat says, "Don't ban me." Too late. You're banned. Just kidding. You can stay around, Aaron Moffat. All right, let's keep moving.
Okay. Well, this one is an opinion piece by the New York Times. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Critical thinking, as we're taught to do it, isn't helpful in the fight against misinformation. What? Did this headline just tell me not to critically think?
Yes. Oh, is this the one? Is this the rabbit trail one?
Yes,
okay, I want to take this one. This was great, especially if you were here for last episode. We like to follow the just what the mainstream advice is when it comes to conspiracy theorists, how to deal with your conspiracy theorist friends, what to think about conspiracy theorist psychology, all the good stuff that really matters. Oops. Hold on. Got to reopen it because I got a paywall. Banana. This is what I get for being so excited about this article. Did you get paywalled?
I did not.
Okay. Well, I got mine here. Don't go down the rabbit hole, says New York Times. Critical thinking, as we're taught to do it, isn't helping in the fight against misinformation. Listen up, folks. It's time for the establishment to tell you why critical thinking is objectively bad. For an academic, Michael Caulfield has an odd request, Stop overthinking what you see online. Dr. Caulfield, a digital literacy expert in Washington State University of Vancouver, knows all too well that at this very moment, more people are fighting for the opportunity to lie to you than at perhaps any other point in human history. Misinformation rides the greased algorithmic rails.
Greased algorithmic rails. That's like, that should be our band name.
Misinformation rides the greased algorithmic rails of powerful social media platforms and travels at velocities and in volumes that make it nearly impossible to stop. That alone makes information warfare an unfair fight for the average internet user. You know, other people who are idiots, but not me because I'm an academic. But Mr. Caulfield,
the hubris in that comment is ridiculous.
I know. It is so revealing, and I don't even think he knows it.
No.
But Mr. Caulfield argues that the deck is stacked even further against us, that the way we're taught from a young age to evaluate and think critically about information is fundamentally flawed and out of step with the chaos of the current internet.
What?
Quote, we're taught.
What are you talking about?
Dude, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. You know, we've spent years going through and, trying to see how they're subtly manipulating us into not critically thinking. They are literally telling you, stop critically thinking. Quote, we're taught that in order to protect ourselves from bad information, we need to deeply engage with the stuff that washes up in front of us, Mr. Caulfield told me recently. He suggested that the dominant mode of media literacy, if kids get taught any at all, is that you, quote, you'll get imperfect information and then use reasoning to fix that somehow. But in reality, that strategy can completely backfire. You mean backfire to the elites that want us to believe what they tell us? In other words, resist the lure of rabbit holes, in part by reimagining media literacy for the internet hellscape we occupy.
Is he part of the internet hellscape, being that he's writing with the New York Times an online opinion piece?
I think so. You know, the New York Times, they're a bastion of the media hellscape, the online hellscape, one of the pillars. It's often counterproductive to engage directly with content from an unknown source, and people can be led astray by false information. You know, because they're just so dumb, not like me, a scholar from Washington University. Influenced by the research of Sam Weinberg, a professor at Stanford, and Sarah McGrew, an assistant professor at the University of Maryland, Mr. Caulfield argued that the best way to learn about a source of information is to leave it and look elsewhere, a concept called lateral reading. Okay. For instance, imagine you were to visit Stormfront, a white supremacist message board, to try to understand racist claims in order to debunk them. Quote, even if you see through the horrible rhetoric, at the end of the day, you gave that place however many minutes of your time, Mr. Caulfield said. Quote, even with good intentions, you run the risk of misunderstanding something because Stormfront users are way better at propaganda than you. You won't get less racist reading Stormfront critically, but you might be overloaded by information and overwhelmed. Listen to what he's saying. He's saying, don't go gather evidence for yourself. Don't go to the source to learn things. Because your poor little squirrel brain will be overloaded by information and overwhelmed.
Okay.
It's the most insulting. Okay. Our current information crisis, Mr. Caulfield argues, is an attention crisis. Quote, the goal of disinformation is to capture your attention, and critical thinking is deep attention. He wrote in 2018, people learn to think critically by focusing on something and contemplating it deeply to follow the information's logic and the inconsistencies. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. That natural human mindset is a liability in any attention economy. It allows grifters, conspiracy theorists, trolls, and savvy attention hijackers to take advantage of us and steal our focus. Quote, focus from what? Quote, whenever you give your attention to a bad actor, you allow them to steal your attention from better treatments of an issue and give them opportunity to warp your perspective. Oh, it kind of sounds like our chat room for a second there. One way to combat this dynamic is to change how we teach media literacy. Internet users need to learn that our attention is a scarce commodity and that it is to be spent wisely. Oh, so this guy understands the value for value model. In 2016, Mr. Caulfield met Mr. Weinberg, who suggests modeling the process after the way professional fact checkers, there we are, the professional fact checkers, assess information. Mr. Caulfield refined the practice into 4 simple principles. Stop, investigate the source, find better coverage, trace claims, quotes, and media to the original context, otherwise known as SIFT. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you getting distracted again?
No, I'm just reading with you.
You're letting the attention grabbers grab you?
No, I'm reading along with you here. So I don't know, something going on in the chat?
No, I was just no. Okay, hold on. But they have a thing about our buddy Robert F. Kennedy here. Okay. Mr. Caulfield walked me through the process using an Instagram post from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a prominent anti-vaccine activist, falsely alleging a link between the human papillomavirus vaccine and cancer. Quote, if this is not a claim where I have a depth of understanding, then I want to stop for a second and before going further, just investigate the source. Mr. Caulfield said. He copied Mr. Kennedy's name in the Instagram post and popped it into Google. Look how fast this is, he told me as he counted the seconds out loud.
Wow.
In 15 seconds. Have you heard of this thing, the internet? Look how fast it goes. In 15 seconds, he navigated to Wikipedia and scrolled through the introductory section of the page, highlighting with his cursor the last sentence, which reads that Mr. Kennedy is an anti-vaccine activist and conspiracy theorist. Okay, his genius advice for navigating disinformation is to take 15 seconds and Google it. Which is hilarious because, of course, we know Google is the arbiter of all truth.
And go to Wikipedia, of all places.
Right. A user content generated website. And then, you just see there that somebody on Wikipedia said he's anti-vaccine and a conspiracy theorist. Boom, you learned something you never heard before.
Fact check, bro. Fact check. And they were complaining about a short attention span, and then he talks about how you can do it in 15 seconds.
It takes 15 seconds, and his advice is, hey, I don't know if you know you can do this, guys. Hey, guys, everybody, your little tiny squirrel brain might not be able to understand this, but let me tell you something. If you see something that you don't know, there's this very special tool on the internet, and it's called Google. And just believe whatever Google tells you, and then you'll be a good little citizen, and you'll stop looking into those things that you shouldn't look into. Stop critical thinking, slave.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Go on.
Yeah. All right. He probed deeper into the method.
No, you skipped this little thing here. The quote.
Is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. the best unbiased source on information about a vaccine? I'd argue no, and that's good enough to know we should probably just move on.
This is ridiculous because this is a character judgment, not at all looking at the information that's being presented. This is bull. Ugh.
I know.
This is absolute garbage.
I know. It's crazy.
Garbage.
This is the New York Times telling you how to be an obedient, good little servant.
Oh, that is absolutely nonsensical.
Don't critical think. Just Google and read whatever you see on Wikipedia.
Okay.
It's wild. It's completely bonkers, and it's silly and it's funny. It's obviously absurd, and we are enjoying it for its entertainment value right now. But this is from the New York Times, who, the gray lady positioned itself, self-proclaimed arbiter of true reporting and news. And they're literally telling you to not critical think, Google, and whatever you find in the first 15 seconds, that's the truth. Just move on. Stop
How many people How many people do you think read this article and was like, oh, I should Google the person's name saying okay, and like started to change their worldview because of it?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I would like to think not very many. I mean, this is so blatant and such really just absurdity.
Okay, he goes on to actually search the claims. So there you go. Maybe it is looking at the information.
Okay, so he
go on. Yeah.
He probed deeper into the method, the Google method, to find better coverage by copying the main claim in Mr. Kennedy's post and pasting that into a Google search.
Oh, the research.
The first two results came from Agence France Presse's Agence France fact-check website and the National Institute of Health. His quick searches showed a pattern. Mr. Kennedy's claims were outside the consensus, okay, a sign they were motivated by something other than science. Yes, because science is about consensus.
Oh my God.
It is just so blatantly on its face an attempt to mind control the masses. Equating science with consensus, not inquiry and experimentation.
Science, for the most part, has been against consensus, right?
Right. Consensus
like the whole
has been the enemy of science. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. The SIFT method and the instructional teaching unit, about 6 hours.
6 hours. Oh, we should take it. We should take that. We should infiltrate that class. And
that's not a bad idea.
Ask some critically thinking questions.
It's a 6-hour class on how to Google various things and believe the first results on Wikipedia. The SIFT method and the instructional teaching unit that accompanies it have been picked up by dozens of universities across the country and in some Canadian high schools. What is potentially revolutionary about SIFT is that it focuses on making quick judgments.
Oh, no.
Now listen to that. Yeah. Okay. It focuses on making quick judgments.
It just said don't make quick judgments.
No,
That our attention span is too short.
This is no. They are using our quick attention span. Whatever you can figure out in 15 seconds is the truth. A SIFT fact check can and should take just 30, 60, or 90 seconds to evaluate a piece of content. You know what this is? They realize that when people get into investigating, certain claims made by authorities, they start learning the truth. We got to stop having people going down rabbit holes because they're waking up.
That's what it is.
And
people are, if they spend more time looking at things, they'll realize what's really going on. So they have to
stop this progress before it is too late.
Make sure they only take 15 seconds to research something. That'll do it. And tell them that's the way they have to do it, or else you're overthinking things.
So the article goes on, but you get the point. This is the New York Times. Charlie Wartzel. He's an opinion writer at large. And, according to academics, a team of academics and those holding power, just stop looking into things. Don't critical think. Whatever answer you get in the first 30, 60, or 90 seconds, that's the truth. Move on with your lives.
Yeah, it goes into talking about how it has its limits. It's the SIFT method is designed for casual news consumers, not experts. Those that have to go deep. We've been trained. This is a quote. We've been trained to think that Googling or just checking one resource we trust is almost like cheating, he said. But when people search Google, the best results may not always be first, but the good information is usually near the top. The algorithms rule us. Often you will see patterns in the links of a consensus that's been formed. Yeah, because Google freaking...
I know. Well, and this is another aspect, and they don't really mention it here, and they because they don't want to, which is giving your worldview, giving your paradigm, giving it all over to the algorithms.
Yes.
Because in 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or even 90 seconds, the only results you're going to get are the algorithm results. You're just getting the automatic mind or brainwashing info that comes. It's the first info that gets spat out by the algorithms. And we've known for years that Google is in the business of bending public opinion on many things. And so, it's no surprise, in an article like this. He's even mentioning Google. He's using the term Google. Use Google. He's not saying search. He's not saying use a search, which, of course, Google is sort of become synonymous with searching. But in a New York Times article about, written with and around scholars and academics and professors, you wouldn't use a brand name. Except if you specifically want people to use Google because they've got the best brainwashing algorithms.
Yeah. Let me finish the quote here. Often you see a pattern in the links of a consensus that's been formed, but deeper into the process, it often gets weirder. It's important to know when to stop. So stop researching at a certain point if it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it goes on to talk about students and how they've never been taught how to check things, and that's a whole nother side of
it goes on and on and on, but it's just the fact that it's not even just trying to hide it anymore. It used to be subtle manipulations to get you to believe the mainstream, and now this is just like, nope, if it takes you more than 30 seconds, it's not worth it.
That's exactly it. The goal of SIFT isn't to be the arbiter of truth, but to instill a reflex that asks if something is worth one's time and attention and to turn away if not.
It's all about the consensus.
Wow.
You join the consensus or you die.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
I know. I can tell you're very disturbed.
I am. It's sad and disturbing. Charlie Warzel, opinion writer at large. Well, I think your opinion is garbage.
Yeah. Well, that's the other fun thing is, it is in the opinion section.
Yeah. Well, they had to make sure
Yes. You wouldn't want to get in trouble.
Too much trouble.
All right. What do you got? We got some fun stuff for the end of the show here.
Yeah, we're done with the politics there. We have a couple lasers and alleged space and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this first one here is from Defense One. Headline: Space lasers will revolutionize military communications if they work.
Wait, are these Jewish space lasers or?
I don't know, but apparently, what was the talking point of mockery a few weeks ago is now just headline on Defense One.
I know.
Satellites that use lasers to exchange data promise to make military communications faster and harder to intercept if the Pentagon can figure out how to make them work. You think they've already figured out how to make them work? And they're just saying this to make it seem like, we need to do it. With plans to launch a 150-satellite constellation into low Earth orbit by September 2024, the 2-year-old Space Development Agency is on a deadline. It has already released a communication standard to be used by 4 companies supplying the laser gear for a 4-hour satellite experiment called Trank Zero. Agency Director Derek Tournier said Tuesday at a Space Foundation event. And by August, Tournier expects to release a request for proposals that will spell out key details for the most robust standard needed for the 150 satellite Tranche 1. It's pretty much, there's not much more to it.
Space lasers are real. That's the
potentially
gist of it.
Yeah, it's potentially big money. SpaceX, Facebook, Google, and a host of other tech companies are looking at the potential of laser-based communications. Ooh. That's pretty much it. Although, I will say the Space Development Agency, the SDA, isn't that, what's that denomination for the church? Seventh-day Adventists?
Oh,
yeah. Maybe a little overlap of the Christian scientism type of thinking there.
Okay.
Take over. I don't know. I'm connecting dots. I'm conspiring, theorying.
You're theorizing about conspirations.
And I'm not going to Google it to verify my claims.
Don't take more than 15 seconds. I'm just poking around, and on Twitch 3 hours ago, NASA had 1.2 million people watching their live broadcast of Mars rover.
Hey, can we get a piece of that, or is that?
Yeah, NASA's better at Twitch than we are, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah, by the way, speaking of NASA and the whole Mars thing there.
Artificial intelligence.
This is tmrblog.com. AI to now find use to track greenhouses in Mars and Antarctica, say researchers.
What?
I think maybe Antarctica and Mars, the same place.
Actual greenhouses?
That's what they say. With artificial intelligence finding use in a host of business verticals, it comes as no surprise it will now find use in the agricultural sector. A research initiative of a team of scientists has led the development of an AI system that enables processing photographs from autonomous greenhouses, automating the cultivation process and monitoring plant growth. The findings of the study is published in the journal IEEE Sensors. In fact, today, modern technology is an integral part of almost all areas of human functioning on this planet. Meanwhile, reaching out to other planets is a new challenge mankind is grappling with. For example, for Mars space crews and settlers, greenhouses are likely to be the only source for fresh food. Therefore, development of AI and computer vision-based technologies becomes a priority research objective. In order to facilitate this, a test site is already in place for developing and testing advanced life support systems. The test site is located at the Antarctic Neumayer Station 111 near the South Pole, wherein an autonomous plant is at operations. With this facility, scientists are focusing on to create an AI system that could gather information about all the factors pertaining to plant growth, including seedling health. The control of greenhouses without human involvement is another area of focus of this research. Quote, from a practical point, continuous communication with the test site is not possible, and it requires too many resources for training computer vision models. Therefore, the research team had to find a way for streaming some plant images to external servers for data processing and analysis, explains one of the researchers at Skulltech. So, it's kind of interesting how they always have like a Earth mirror of other planets when they do this kind of thing. And that kind of leads us to our last thing here. Apparently, this is fake. It has come out to be fake. But
what is it?
It was being shared as video and sound from the surface of Mars.
Oh.
Okay, do you want to check it out here? It's about 26 seconds.
But yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, and this is just kind of a 360-degree spin of Mars, allegedly.
Mars, allegedly. Yeah, it looks kind of like a desert.
Yeah, it looks like Arizona.
Arizona or Greenland or something. Anyway, turns out that sound was fake. And everybody, the main person that shared this deleted the tweet, and other people were upset that they're.
Why were people so excited about the sound?
Oh, dude, you're hearing the sound of another world, Basil.
Okay.
But it's just interesting how it's almost like a misdirection, like throw out a video with fake sound and then, debunk themselves like, oh, the sound is fake. And then that way everybody will believe that the footage is real, It's
yeah. I'm also looking, no, that's a good point. Yeah. But I'm also looking at a screen grab. First of all, this video is in like iPhone vertical format, which is a little strange.
Yeah.
But also somebody took a quick little snippet and it shows that it says curiosity.
Hold on, I'm almost done.
Whoa, is that baby?
What?
Baby's here.
Oh, it's the older one. I don't know, honey. You want to come inside?
Well, it's happened, everybody. It's finally happened again. We haven't heard from the babies in 2 or 3 episodes.
Yes.
So we're happy to bring you the baby report.
Hey, hold on one second. You want to wrap it up here?
Okay.
I mean, we're done, right? This is the last story we had.
Yeah. It was good timing. Okay, folks. Well, we've got boots on the ground in the baby pit, and Gons is going to be doing his fatherly duties to maintain the peace. And while he does that, I want to remind everybody that we are going to be circling back around on Wednesday, the 24th of February, for the next episode. I want to, so make sure to put that on your calendar, put it on your, turn on notifications. While we're winding down the show here, if you have not yet hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, please go ahead and do that now. It'll help out the algorithms quite a bit, but also you'll make sure to get a reminder when we go live again on Wednesday morning. So thank you very much. I want to thank all of our producers for this episode 303. Again, that's producers Lady Liberty, All Might Bear, Brian, Lifewater Ranch, Axel, and Saul. And again, thanks to Jade Bouncherson for the timestamps, as well as our artists for this episode: Grace, Mike B, Chris B, and Allie. Very, very happy that the value for value model continues to keep the show going, and we could not do it without the participation of all of our producers giving their time, their talent, and their treasure. Now, if you want to become a producer, if you just feel so inspired and you would like to see the show keep going, you can head on over to patreon.com/CCNT. Or if Patreon is not the right choice for you, you can head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. So head on over there, become a producer. You will not regret it. In fact, you might find that you find more satisfaction and ownership over your favorite podcast. Okay. Other than that, you can also become a producer by sending your art, your jingles, your music, whatever you want to do, show-related expression of creativity. Go ahead and send that to canarycryradio@gmail.com or canarycryradio@protonmail.com if you are into that privacy thing. Also, remember to leave ratings and reviews. Very important. Again, going back to those algos, folks. If you haven't done it yet, leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts for the show. We appreciate that very much, and we'll be reading them on on Friday, hopefully, if we remember. So thank you very, very much. Now, here's the other thing. Y'all got friends, you got family. They're starting to wake up, realize that they're being lied to, or things are just not what they seem. You need to share the show with them. This is the only way. It is the way. And go ahead and send them an episode. Let them know what to expect. Maybe send them a clip. Just word of mouth is the best way for this show to help people. And so if you want to do that, it's time that we all start rattling some cages. And if you need any other instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, Gons, any last words?
Thank you for everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I don't know what happened to the chat little window there. It's got all funky on my end. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, so, yeah, that happened on my end too. So it must have been some hacker.
No, we got hacked. Maybe it was Freedom Fighter.
Hacks or
Freedom Fighter 6.
Yeah,
in the chat who know what's going on with that.
Mad.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate all the producers out there, and we'll see you Wednesday.
Okie dokie. There you go. See you Wednesday, February 24th, folks. Be there, be square. And let me see. Yeah, anyways, thanks for tuning into this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
This guy comes to my house. He's a Satanist from one of the Satanist churches here where they sacrifice babies and melt those babies into candles, their skin, and that's supposed to give them more demonic power. And these Satanists came to my house, 5 of them, and threatened my life.
Shameful generation!
You can't handle the truth.
Look it up.
Everybody loves waffles.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Conspiracy
pot. That's where I started.
Light up a huge blunt.
A joint.
Give everybody
magic
mushrooms. Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered.
Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt.
Fluoride, oxytocin, get a chemical hug.
I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all away. It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way.
Left wing, right wing, 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 left wing, right wing.
Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Same bird.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. 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 Don't let them drain you all the way.
find something I ain't got all day. Get on my YouTube, debates like the sun. See what's new, demonetization. Know what's this? To my surprise, I spot a big pair of googly eyes. Click on the video and turn up the sound. What is this gem that I have found?
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now.
keep the cameras on.